is your fundraiser going this year? If it's anything less than amazing, it's time to talk to Shawn Murphy at FanPledge. No product to sell, nothing to deliver, and guaranteed results. Raise at least 10% more than your current donation based fundraiser, or it's free. Fun, fast, proven. Call Shawn at 903-948-7348. FanPledge. The champions are already on board. Are you? Band Yap is proudly sponsored by Troubadour Consultants. When it comes to planning group travel for your fine arts program, look no further than Troubadour Consultants. Whether you're organizing a major out-of-state trip or need top-notch accommodations for the state marching contest, John Mize and his team are ready to create a custom travel experience that meets your band's unique needs. As a family-owned, band director-run company, Troubadour understands exactly what it takes to make your trip stress-free and seamless. Plus, when you book a trip with Troubadour, they will sponsor a $500 college scholarship for a student in your band. Directors who book will also receive a free Mollard baton as a special thank you. Visit troubadourconsultants.com today to start planning your next trip with the experts who truly get it.
So I put in my application for professional status. It was accepted, and I got my Pro Bowlers card, and I was allowed admission into the regional tournaments that they would have. I wrote a letter to Blue Devils, and I sent them out. Some time passes, and then my dorm room phone rings, and I pick it up, and they say, "Hi, can I speak to Shawn Murphy?" I was like, "Yeah, this is Shawn speaking. Hi, this is Wayne Downey with the Blue Devils. I got your letter."
Hello and welcome back to Band Yap. My name is Alexa Sanchez.
And I'm Jose Sanchez.
And today we have the champion of chill with us. We have Shawn Murphy. Hi, Shawn.
What's up, guys?
Shawn, can you tell me how you live such a zen life? Every single time I talk to you, like even when I've seen you get on to like have the discussion with a kid, you're just so zen at all points in time.
I can tell you it hasn't always been that way. Thank you, by the way, for that compliment, because I was raised in old school times where anything goes, yelling, throwing, anything goes. I think it was like a corporal punishment was still a thing back in elementary school. So yeah, it came up in a different time. So you're a product of your upbringing. So there was some very, what was Reed's word, incendiary moments young in my career that I don't know, you stick your finger in the electrical socket enough times and you learn that that's probably not the best way to go about it. So over time, it just kind of tempers, and you learn which battles to fight. I think that's the main thing, and that you don't really get as upset as maybe you used to when things don't go right. So you learn to see the long game a little bit better. You're not so, like, it's not so wrapped up in the goings on or the problems that come up. You've seen it before, and it passed. It came to pass, and yeah, you lived another. The sun came up the next day, and it was fine. So I think just that experience that comes with time just really helps to, make it so that you know that everything's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. And I don't know.
Yeah, because I've seen you like get onto a kid, but it's like so, I don't know. It's like this, I'm getting onto you and I'm giving you the information and I'm chewing you out. But it's more of like I'm a disappointed father kind of delivery. And like I saw you do it with the kid and I was like, I feel like I need to do something good.
No, I try to ask leading questions now, and have them arrive at the right decision, the right answer, and it's more of a, I don't know, I'm not into punishing kids. I'm there to kind of guide them. It's a tough journey, especially for kids nowadays with all the social media out there, and nothing is private or secret anymore. Like, I mean, in my youth, there was no social media. Like, half the stuff that we did back then was ever recorded, like in any form or fashion. I can't imagine, but yeah, these kids, they got a lot on them, a lot of pressure, and they do dumb stuff, and you just try to guide them to the right decisions, and just love them through it. And sometimes that love is tough, and they need to hear some truth to get them back on track. But you know that's that's just kind of what I think nowadays. you know that's, at least I try.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, especially since I grew up really old school because I grew up. I mean, I graduated in 2004. Like, I remember the first cell phone I ever saw in any vicinity was the Nokia cell phones.
Like the standard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you could run them over with like a car,
And
and
play
they.
Snake.
Oh
Yeah.
man, playing Snake on those things was like the
I
best.
know. Yeah, I agree with that.
But like,
That's something we should bring back.
but like, it is different, and I think you and I have had the discussion that like kids are smarter now because they have information at their fingertips, and
Hmm.
it's just become harder to regulate how fast they become adults because they're not adults, but because they are able to do adult like things they think they are.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy to think what these kids have, just at their fingertips, the information and access that we couldn't imagine, couldn't fathom when we were that same age. So yeah, you're right.
I just was happy to get one of those banana fudge pops
Yeah.
when I was like 10, 11,
Right.
12.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, they need to bring those back.
One
Yeah.
of the smartest things I ever heard an administrator say was that kids these days can Google any fact that they need, and they don't really need to retain that information anymore.
Oh, that's true.
But they need to be able to have better critical thinking skills in able to discern which information is correct and which information is not, or which information like tends to be more truthful and which information is not, especially in the age of like AI and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But the critical thinking skills need to be developed more in the school system
Right.
because the information is so readily available.
Well, that's
Hmm.
like the whole entire like legitimizing Wikipedia.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast about that, about just Wikipedia in general. But yeah,
Because like, I mean, what we had to go actually go look up things in like a thesaurus.
a thesaurus.
Thesaurus.
Or an encyclopedia.
Yeah. We used to have those, the big abridged ones.
Like at home?
Yes, we had one of
Really?
those. Like, yeah, the world six, like,
Wow.
yeah, it was ridiculous.
That's admirable.
Well,
We never had that.
you know, we were always afraid that somebody was going to pick it up and throw it at us.
Yeah, okay,
It
sure.
was more of a weapon than anything else in our household.
I was that kid that would like, you know how in the reference section in the library you could like go like, I would pick up the encyclopedia and just like flip through it. You know, I guess that's what the internet is now. But
Nerd.
yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
I own it. It's fine.
It's all right. I'm married up. I tell people that all the time. Well, anyways, Shawn, since we're here to talk about you, can you tell us about yourself, your background, education, teaching experiences, things like that?
Sure. I think that you know, start from the beginning. Just a proud Denton, Texas native. Grew up there. Went to Denton High School, University of North Texas, and yeah, I met my wife there at UNT in the marching band, and been married for 22 years now. We got two kids. Mason is a junior, and Hayden is in seventh grade. They're both musicians. Mason plays French horn, and Hayden is a tuba player. And super proud of them. And yeah, my wife, she runs her own business, Simply Plant Based Kitchen, and she's just amazing, just helping people just every single day. The testimonials that I read about the lives she's saving through the work that she does is just inspiring to me. 26 years of band directing, 22 of those as a head band director in various scrappy underdog places, just all over Texas, pretty much. On DFW, East Texas, and then most recently in Central Texas in the Austin area. And yeah, just there's something about it. I just love the underdogs. I love the scrappy, hardworking, blue collar. Just I love those situations, and just going in there, giving them the systems and processes and the motivation, the hope, just all of the tools that they need to be successful is just something that I'm really passionate about, and I've been so fortunate to be in the right places at the right time, surrounded by the right people to help make those kids successful in ways that they never thought possible. And I consider myself just to be so stinking lucky. um, I've taught it at 4A, 5A, and 6A levels in urban, suburban, and rural places. So I've seen a good lot of what it is to do band in Texas, and yeah, and I get called. I'm very fortunate to be called to be a consultant in some places. I was very thankful to come and work with your kids at Gatesville. You're doing amazing work. You and your team, just amazing work. The Gatesville High School Band Program, just state finalists and well earned. I'm so inspired by being around you and your team and your kids and what you're able to do. Um, but yeah, now my main gig is FanPledge. I'm a fundraiser. Those phone calls that I would always ignore, or the emails that I would always delete, now I am that for other band directors, pretty much, like, trying to help them raise some money. I find that nowadays it's so important, especially with all the state legislature stuff going on, that budgets are getting cut, and funding for programs, band programs specifically, is, I don't know. There's some really scared people out there, some really nervous band directors about, if is their funding still going to be there. So, being able to step in this role and help raise money to help their programs continue to thrive is, I don't know, it's a passion I never knew that I had inside, but it's the right thing at the right time right now. I'm super excited about it. I'm also on board with Sassy, the leadership people, with Jeremy Spicer and just the team of leadership trainers that are on board there. In fact, right now I'm in Waller, Texas. I just had day one of the Waller leadership training session. I have day two tomorrow. And yeah, I've got about 9 or 10 of these things scheduled over the course of the summer. So really excited about that. Um, yeah, just, and then every now and then I'll host a Perform America trip. They'll call me and I'll take a group to New Orleans or Galveston or something like that. So I wear many hats, but my favorite is being a dad and a husband right now. I'm getting a little bit more time to do that than I used to when I was a band director.
So you've mentioned this earlier. So you met your wife at UNT. So what instrument did you play or do play?
Trumpet player, mellophone and marching band, but when I met my wife, I was drum major.
Mm.
Okay, what instrument did your wife play?
She is a flute player, but when I met her, she was in color guard.
Oh, and your son's Mason.
Hmm.
I know is a very talented French horn player. Can you tell us a little bit about Mason?
I love that kid so much. He grinds so hard. He practices so hard, and he's so determined. Um, like, he made All State this year on French horn, and in a very competitive area. It's all the Leander schools and Westlake and Lake Travis, and all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley is kind of how our area works. And just so many great players, and he crushed it this all region go round, climb through the ranks, and just so proud of him. It doesn't even matter, like, whatever the placement would have been. Just he practices so much, and he seeks out information, and he soaks up his lessons, and I don't know, he's just such a sponge when it comes to musical knowledge. He won't listen to me about any of it, but I mean, he gets it
Of
from.
course not. Your dad.
I know. There was a time, though. I have some videos, of us, like, during COVID, when he was like, "Let's just dress up in costume and practice together." And I have videos of that. So that was fun back when he was in 6th grade. Yeah, we would practice together, and all that. But now he's kind of he's moved on from that, and rightfully so. I mean, uh, he's surpassed anything that I ever was in high school as far as musicianship is concerned, and even in college. Like he's just attempting so much, like just high level literature, and he's going to all these different camps. Like he's signed up to go to Interlaken for the summer and be a part of their horn intensive. He's looking to go to Interlaken for his senior year as well. Um, and he wants to be in a New York City conservatory for college and ultimately be a professional horn player, like gigging, like working musician in New York City is his dream. So the way he's working at it right now, I'm just trying to stay out of the way and just let him do his thing. And but like I said, I'm just so dang proud of him and his journey, and how far he's come and how far he's going to still go. Um, as a dad, it's just you can't put that into words. You guys are going to know what that's like, with your kiddos as they come up, and I'm sure they're going to be musicians and band and all that type of stuff. So you get to see this whole process unfold in front of you, and I'm excited for you to see that too.
Which brings me to an interesting question. Like, how has it been for you balancing the band director and the dad hat?
It's a fine line, and it honestly depends on the kid. Like my seventh grader, Hayden, he loves when we practice together. In fact, now that I've stepped out of the classroom, I have my mornings available, and that's when he practices his tuba. So I'll walk upstairs, and he'll play something for me, and then I'll say, "Hey, try this," and he'll make some adjustments and that type of thing, and then he's just very receptive to any and all information that I have to give him. Sometimes, like a YouTube, a thought will jump into my mind. It's like, "Hey, Hayden, you need to see this YouTube video of this, performance," and I'll play it for him, and we'll just, and he'll be inspired by, I don't know, like Oystein Bodsvik or something like that. He's been recently asking about Mahler too, which is my favorite piece
Oh,
ever.
we
Yeah,
we heard.
right. Yeah. And, so he wanted me to show him a little bit of that as well, and, like, he comes to me with music too, like, that he's come across, just in his video games that he plays or just on YouTube and whatever, and, like, some of the stuff I've never even heard of, but we have some great conversations and some time, you know, about music, and that's really really cool. I know that window is probably closing. Like he's going to become his own musician, and kind of like Mason. He used to want to hang with dad and listen and work, and now less so. And I just kind of had to gracefully let go, and just be there as a safety net if ever he needed anything, but not pressure. I think that's the thing, is like if I try to barge in, or if I try to, you know, I don't know, if I try too hard to help him, then it's not productive. But for Hayden, he still wants dad around, and he still wants everything that I have to share musically for him. And so yeah, it just depends, I guess, and just be aware of when it's time and when it's not. But yeah, kids are awesome. They're so different. We feed them the same food, we raise them the same way, and they just have such different personalities. So
Well, that's the conversation that we've had like within our own family is about like, okay, what do they want? What are we going to do with them? What are, the directions we're going to push them? But that can also be applied to like the way we have our band kids, because we get them as sixth graders and we develop them, and then, hopefully they walk out our doors at, come their senior year, and as they graduate, and it's the time of year, we're in May, and we have to have some of those uncomfortable conversations with kids about, one, whether or not they're coming back to band as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or even going into their senior year, and whether or not they are going to continue on this. I mean, ultimately, this path. Um, do you? I mean, what is your thought on that, and how did you ever like approach kids not continuing in band?
well, it changed over the years, and it did depend on whether I was in a big school or a small school. Because in a small school, you need everybody. Like you have to have everybody. And so I would do a lot more salesmanship and just, try to hold on to kids, that were, considering leaving the program. In the bigger programs, there are more kids typically, and more opportunities for those kids to, to go to. I found that in the bigger school situations, if a kid came to me saying that they didn't want to continue, I would, later in my career, I would say, man, we'd hate to lose you, but we understand that, this doesn't, resonate with your soul maybe like it used to. Let's find a place for you to be happy again. Let's put you in a place where you can be whole and you can be your best self. If it's not in the band hall, then where can it be, and let's find that for you. And there was no hard feelings about it. There was just like, you know, I'll still wave to you in the hallway, and I wish you well, but I didn't really take it personally. I think that's the thing, is when I was younger, I used to take it personally. If a kid wanted to quit band, I was like, well, that was an attack against me and what I did. Oftentimes, it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with the kid and what, where they wanted to go, like with their, I don't know, with their lives and or their academics and stuff, which I feel like band kids are the best at academic kids anyway. So when a kid wanted to quit because they wanted to focus on their studies, I found that their grades actually didn't improve when they
Yeah.
left band. But but yeah, I don't know. The older I got, the more, I guess, grace I showed when it came to all of that. It's, you want the kids to be happy, and in this time of mental health, it's more prevalent now than it used to be. And you want kids to be taken care of, and you want them to be, it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies and bunny rabbits, but you want them to be their best self. And if they're disgruntled in your band program, then they're going to make other kids disgruntled, and you're going to be disgruntled having to deal with them. So I think that, just having lived through that, uh, too many times, just let's find a place for you to be happy again. And where is that? And let's work together to find that for you. That's kind of what I've graduated to, I guess.
Yeah, we what you're saying like resonates a lot to me. And I think band directors take it so personally when somebody wants to leave the program because this is what we love. Like this is our passion. And it's almost like, why don't you love this as much as I love it? And so whenever somebody abandons that, you almost feel abandoned, especially like I think 1A through 4A directors probably get hit with that a little bit harder than probably larger school like 5A, 6A, because we are generally our own feeder program. And so when you see a kid and the joy of them opening up their instrument for the first time and that happiness and that, just
Mhm.
bliss
Yep.
to the point where they no longer want to be a part of the program, it's almost heartbreaking. And you kind of go like, what did I do wrong to deter you from this path?
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, a lot of times it's not necessarily what you did. It may be several other factors that you'll never know about. So you can second guess yourself, you know, until you're just weighed down by it all, or I don't know, just help the kid along. And I find that Darcy Williams, this is stolen from her. She says that kids need a job and a friend as far as retention is concerned in your program. If they have those two things, if they have a reason, a purpose for being there, and they have a band bestie, then they're likely going to stick through with it. So you take one of those two variables out, and uh, there there's not as much sticking power to the program.
Mm.
So there's true wisdom there.
Yeah, and we had when I was over at Robinson, there are pros and there are cons to that system because especially with the bestie part, because we had 1 year, oh my goodness, we called it, it was a epidemic. We called it serial quitting.
Mm,
where we had like really really good tight group of kids, and one of them decided they didn't want to do it anymore, and the dominoes fell.
Mm.
Like we lost, I think, four trombone players in like within a week
Oh, worst
because they
night.
were just all best friends. They were all great friends, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. It was just like, what just happened?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely the dark side of that whole band bestie thing. You're not kidding.
I
But
think the band bestie thing is definitely a very real phenomenon.
yeah,
Because so many of the kids, they come in 6th grade, and I think this is, I guess, more prevalent as well. I don't know. I've seen both, but they come in 6th grade and they all kind of like are in 5th grade classes together or whatever. But in 6th grade and especially in 7th grade, they start to kind of like split the activities that they do. But you still have to have someone there that's like your person that you can talk to about things that happen in rehearsal or whatever. And sometimes they're kids that normally wouldn't hang out together outside of band, but then it's great that they found each other
Right,
in band.
right.
we've had a few of those.
Yeah, we have some funny
You
ones.
kind of like, hmm.
Uh-huh.
So can you? Okay, so you graduate. You go to UNT. You graduate from UNT, and you land your first job. Where was your first job at?
North Garland High School, and it was actually a split job, halftime at North Garland and halftime at Jackson Middle School, which fed into North Garland. So I spent half my day at one and half my day at the other. There was a half a position from each principal that combined together. So I literally had like I had to be at both places. I had rosters and roles and both places. So yeah, it wasn't just a thing that you just go to the other school. No, it was a this is this is mandated for by your contract. So yeah, I was there for 3 years, and I was the second assistant at North Garland, and I was the assistant at Jackson, and it was a good experience for me to have because they were one of those blue collar programs that didn't have a whole bunch of resources and had to get creative on how they succeeded and that type of thing. So just some really good people that I got a chance to work with, and I was young and dumb and hot headed, and I thought I knew everything. And coming from a really strong high school program at Denton, which we were really strong. We were small at Denton High School, but still really really competitive. And then going on to University of North Texas and my drum corps experience with the Blue Devils, I was always associated with some really strong performing ensembles. And I just figured that you know like we'll just do what they do and it'll be fine. But I didn't understand at that time, like those situations were not what I was high that was not what I had in front of me. I understand now, but I totally did not understand then. So I'd get into heated discussions with these head directors about what we should be doing so we could be more successful. And you know I was getting some pushback from all of that. I remember just being really frustrated by it all, but I couldn't see the big picture. I couldn't see what I was. I don't know. I had my blinders on, and I didn't have any experience to know. I thought I did, but I didn't. And yeah,
Well, I
so.
mean, that says a lot about what it's like to be a young educator, especially somebody who's hungry. And I think that's probably where a lot of that came from for you, because I understand that. Because I think certain people, a lot of people, I would hope a lot of people are just wired to want to be good and be great and like pass that passion on to other people. Like that was like one of the philosophies that like I adopted pretty early on, is that like I want to pass my passion for music on to other people.
Mhm.
And I think because of that, we do get our blinders on, and that can do a lot of damage along the way.
Yeah.
And you're young, and as a young band director, I mean, you want to make an impact. I would hope that a lot of young band directors that want to be successful want to make an impact as fast as they can, and sometimes that burns the house down a little bit along the way.
Yeah, I burned so many bridges back when I was younger, just, trying to do too much too soon, and, just, I don't know, not supporting the director's vision, and just not being very good at what I did yet. I mean, I didn't have nearly the kind of um, tricks of the trade, I suppose, that I do now, just from having watched a whole bunch of other, successful directors, and then, trial and error as well, just figuring out what to do and what not to do over time. But yeah, there are still, like, to this day, there are still, you know there's still people who remember that young hothead, and uh, it haunts me, at times, from, those people. And I wish I could go back and change my whole, like, persona, and be more teachable, be more helpful, be more patient, um, because I was none of those things. And like, I'm embarrassed and ashamed for those early years. But you know, I'm better now. I'm still learning. You never stop. But I think a lot of what I do and have done later in my career has been, I guess, to right the wrongs of the early days, like, to be the best version of me, for the students, because who knows, like, the next generation of band directors, our profession needs good band directors, so they need to be nurtured, they need to be encouraged. And I they're young, some of them, and they're hot-headed like I am too, but you know give them grace and give them patience, and um, tell them it's going to be okay. You just calm down, and just take this advice, and you will be so much better for it. That's what I want to be right now. I want to be an encourager to the younger generation, to the students, to the young band directors, and to the profession at large. I think that's my place right now.
And I got to tell you, like, I think one of the first things I ever said to read about you is that, like, I couldn't quite put my finger on like your personality trait because you're just so chill and relaxed about everything. And then it's just like your delivery is just like it's very calming. Like, you should read, like, I feel like you're this kind of person who, like, if you read me a bedtime story, I might actually drift off a little bit because you're
Llama
just,
llama.
yeah, llama llama red pajama. Like
Yeah, I'm sure the people listening to the podcast right now are already nodding off. So I am
but
sure of it.
it's just it's just like it's hard to find someone who's so, like, for me, like any reaction or any interaction that I've had with you, and like we've had quite a few, it's just like it's very very calming, at all points in time. And I appreciate that because, like, I know that I the way I am, which is like a lot of intensity.
You're
uh
just a big personality.
yeah, I just can't help it. And so therefore, like, when you're around, it actually kind of brings me back down to ground level. And I don't think enough people have that around to kind of ever go, like, bring people back down to like reality to a certain degree. I
Yeah,
mean, because you've lived that life, where you've probably been more of an aggressive type, and you've learned all these lessons, but like you wouldn't be who you are if you didn't go through those processes or through those trials.
sure, absolutely. And I can flip the switch too. I think that, especially in front of, like, a sub non varsity band or middle schoolers, like, you need to be more animated. You need to be more, like, head on a swivel, and that gear, that mode exists. Like, it's still in there, but the default is is, yeah, just the calm, because I think this world needs it. I really do. I think it needs a lot of things. It needs calm, um, compassion. It needs people who are willing to listen. It needs love. It needs light. It needs beauty. It needs all of these things. And I feel like if I'm not trying to be that, then I'm contributing to the chaos. So just trying to create some kind of calm and some kind of peace wherever I happen to be. If that's possible, then that's what I need to do. That's what I want to do. And if the moment calls for me to be my most energetic and I don't know, just bubbly self, then okay, then that is what I bring when it's appropriate, or try to at least. And then, but most of the time, it's just we just need to chill out.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really what it needs to
I
be.
I uh I channeled the inner Sean Murphy the other day.
Oh,
There was a situation where like I got real close to blowing my top, and
Oh, yes, I was there for this.
I was all like, you know what, this isn't worth it. I go, you make whatever decision you're going to make, and that's the decision you're going to have to live with, and that's the end of the story. But you are going to do what I expect you to do because that's the expectation of this program.
yeah, yeah. I am surprised even now, like, because when I was younger, when kids were talking in rehearsal, that's my pet peeve, by the way. When kids are talking while I'm talking, I hate that. I've always hated it. I hate it now. I'm always going to hate it. I used to snap at them, and I, now I just stop talking and I just look at them, and then they stop, and then I just keep going. So it's like just one that, and it works 100% of the time,
I do that
no,
all the
no
time.
matter what setting happens to be. And I was like, you know what? This is so much better than what I used to do. This right here, this is a magic bullet for classroom discipline. And I would walk out. Like, I don't really stand on the podium that much when I'm in rehearsal. Like, I'll walk around the room and I'll stand by the kids who are a little more distracted and just teach from there. Like, I'll run the rehearsal and have sections play, and I'll just be standing in the trumpet section, right by them, or I'll be
Of
standing on the
course,
other end of the
of
room or
course.
other side of the room, just staring right at them while teaching the entire band class, from the other side of the room. So that's something that I just kind of picked up. But yeah, man, that it's wild how all of that works, and where I used to be such a, I don't know, I just used to be what I saw when I was taught when I was younger. I used to do that and just snap, like just yell, or just lose it. Now, just you can have so much more classroom discipline, classroom management, by being so much more calm. So it works for me.
I love when you have kids talking in rehearsal and you do you stop and you look at them and you wait for them to finish. And the kids, it's usually when they're sitting in the back, the kids that are in front of them turn around and they're like, shh, shh. And they like wait for them to stop. I love that.
Yeah, if I'm feeling extra snarky, that day, what I'll do is, if somebody's talking during rehearsal, I'll I'll stop talking myself, and I'll turn and look at him. It's like, oh, I'm so, and I will say, I'm so sorry for interrupting your conversation. Please go ahead. Please, please.
I love that too. Uh,
Um, and they'll be like, we're good. No, no, really, it must have been super important, and I don't want to seem rude to you in this conversation you're having. It must be an emergency, because why else would you be talking in rehearsal? Here, please go on. And but that's rare. But if I'm feeling extra, you know, I don't know, saucy that day.
Yeah, like this is kind of a weird thing, but I had a group of students this year start to get upset with me. And I'm like, why are y'all upset with me?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
because they were like, Mr. Sanchez, you need to yell at us. I'm like, why do I need to yell at you? They're like, because we need to be told what to do. And apparently you being nice about it isn't working.
Well, I told you I had a theory about this.
Sure. What was the
I've told
theory?
you this before.
What times?
That in that moment, to be motivated, the language that they receive in places that aren't in band is based off of like yelling. And that is how they are externally motivated, like at home and that kind of thing. Their parents aren't like, now so and so, you really need to make sure you do this. It's like, get out. So that was my theory, is that they are asking you to externally motivate them in the way that they are raised, essentially. Which
Uh,
is kind of what Sean had talked about, how he's grown, out
yeah.
of the ways. But yeah, that was kind of
I mean,
my
I just like I tell them, I'm like, guys, I'm too overweight to get my blood pressure up this high.
you're gonna fall off that
Like
tower one day.
I'm gonna kill over on this tower, and that I really don't
It
want to
already has
die.
a crack in it. We don't need
Oh no.
we don't need any other yeah.
But I was just like, why do I have to yell at you to get you to do the right thing? Like that's not the well, do you know what the right thing is? Yes. Then just do it.
Yeah, I told
Yeah.
students, throughout my career, is like you are training the adults on how to treat you. Do you realize that? And they look at me kind of puzzled. I say, yeah, like whatever you respond to is what the adult is going to do. Like if you respond to calm instruction, then you will get calm and instruction, just a calm delivery. If the director or teacher needs to raise their voice for you to do whatever it is that they're asking, well, then you're training that adult that that's what's necessary for their success. It's like you as students are training the adults how to treat you, and how do you want to be treated. And they always like, we want you to be nice. I was like, okay, well then do what I ask you when I'm being nice. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. So sometimes you just have to spell it out to them that that's kind of how that works.
Imagine that.
That's what I say all the time too, is I tell them I'll be nice about it the first time and probably the first 2 or 3 times. And then after that, your chances are gone. Like we tried it that way, it did not work. So,
So North Garland, and then where'd you go to after that?
I, at the young age of 26 years old, took the head band director job at Western Hills High School in Fort Worth ISD.
Brave.
Yeah, the dynamic Arturo Valdez was my boss, my director of fine arts, and he was amazing. To this day, he's one of the very best bosses I have ever had in my entire life. This was still in my hothead days where I knew everything or thought I did, and he was so patient with me and gracious, and he had a way of just guiding me through leading questions and never judging like anything I said or did. He was like, have you thought about this? And he would give me another option. I was like, well, no, I never have really thought about that. He's like, give it a shot. I think it might work well. And he knew full well that it was going to work, and it was going to be better than whatever I was doing. But he didn't come out and tell me direct, like on the nose, stop doing this other and do what I'm telling you to do. He never did, because I would have forget you. Um, but no, he had a way. He understood me and where I was in my journey as a director and just as a person, and he believed in me. I think that's the main thing, is that like he wanted me there. He believed in me that I could do great things, and he was patient with me when I would be my, I don't know, just overly aggressive young self. Um, he supported me. Like he invited me and Kim over to his house. I remember the UT championship game with Vince Young. What was that,
Oh,
2005 or what?
such a good game.
Yeah, we were sitting in his living room watching that game on his TV. Like we were at his house. Like he came over. He invited me to lunch often, and we would just sit and talk about how things were going. And he'd just say, um, "Man, Sean, I'm so proud of you and the things that you're doing." and you are a star. You're a star of the future in this profession, and it just really pumped me up and feed my ego. And I just really loved that. I loved his faith in me, um, and it just really made me want to be good, like the very best that I could be. And it made me want to listen to things that he said also, because he was just so dang kind to me, kinder than I probably deserved. But best boss ever.
So, how long were you there at Western Hills?
4 years. 4 years. We were able to get the first sweepstakes there in about 25 years, in my second year at that school. And we were just over the moon about it. Um, and of course, our biggest cheerleader was Art Valdez. He was right there, just singing my praises, and the team of teachers. Like, yeah, it was a very special time.
Well, like I remember being over at Wortham and them getting their, it was 2012, 2011 into 2012,
2012.
2012,
Yeah.
2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
It was 2012.
That, oh, I just know it had a 12 in it because that's also when we started dating.
That is exactly why I know that.
Yeah. But like seeing them get a sweepstakes the first time since 1996,
Mhm.
that experience was very different in a way that I can't explain. And you can probably relate to this really well. It's because like, I mean, you said their first sweepstakes in 25, 26, 25 years. I mean, what was that like being, a part of that?
Well, I mean, it was my first taste of success as a head band director. Um, I knew what success was as a performer, and in my fifth year of teaching, my second year of being a head band director, here we are getting first divisions and everything. I remember the region secretary when I was going to pick up the trophy. And I introduced myself to him as like, "Hi, I'm the director for Western Hills. I'm here to sign off and then pick up our trophy." And he says, "Western Hills?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Are you sure you got a first division at all these contests?" Because he knew the Western Hills program from before, and we hadn't really talked a whole lot or seen each other. And here I am showing up this young kid, and we had just gotten our sweepstakes, and you know, and he's questioning, "Are you sure?" Like, "Yeah, yes, definitely." But no, it just it felt so good, and I have to shout out the people who were helping me too. Mike Robinson was the sixth grade director at Leonard Sixth, and then Eric Bolden was the director at Leonard Middle School, and my wife Kim was the color guard director, and she was a big help to me at that time. And then Jason Phipps was our percussion director at that time. He's no longer in the profession, um, but together we made it happen and brought those kids success. And I think that's kind of what fueled my fire for helping underdog programs, the scrappy underdogs that I've just spent my entire career with. It really began right there, and that nothing was impossible. It didn't matter what their past was. It didn't matter what the resources were. We were going to work hard, and we were going to give them hope, and we were going to give them, all that we could give to make them successful, and it worked. And yeah, it was just proof. It was proof that hard work does pay off. You just never give up.
Well, and you've been successful with almost, I mean, really every single program you've been associated with, from what I know. So, Western Hills, and then where do you go after that?
Well, after that, I went to Marcus High School as an assistant, and that was tricky because I had been a head band director for 4 years, been making all the decisions, um, you know, ordering all the buses and doing all the things that head band directors do, and then having to transition from that role into the second assistant. at a powerhouse program. I mean, it was 2005, so they hadn't quite started the run of state championships, but they were really good. I mean, you could see that it was about to happen, and I was there. Um, and yeah, it was too much of a change from making all the decisions to making zero of the decisions, from feeling like I'm steering the ship to I have no say in anything whatsoever, nothing, no influence whatsoever. And then being surrounded by some strong personalities there too, that was tricky because I was still a strong personality myself, and it was just not a good mix when I'm in a situation where I don't get to feel like I'm having the kind of impact that I want to have. Then I'm just not fulfilled, and it just wasn't a good fit at that time. So what happened was Art Valdez had just left his fine arts director role in Fort Worth ISD the year previous, and he went into the corporate sector. He was in, I think, insurance and mortgages and stuff like that. Financial broker group, I think is what it's called. And I just talked to him just because I like talking to him, and he said, "Shawn, you should come work with me again." And I was like, "What? Like leave band directing?" He's like, "You're $100,000 a year guy making $50,000 a year. You need to come work with me." And I was like, "Hey, well, I had not thought that was an option, but he said, "Yeah, come on, I'll train you and we'll get going." So at the semester, the like I'm out. Like it was not working anyway. The personality clashes were just not happening. It was all my fault. That I want to be clear that it was my fault that did not work the way that it was supposed to. But it opened the door to reconnect with one of my most influential mentors in my whole universe, my whole world. So I went into insurance and I was horrible at it, absolutely miserable. Like the worst. Like I sold zero policies in 6 months of trying. It was the worst experience ever. But Art was so encouraging. It's like, just stick with it, man. It's like, stick with it. Trees grow so much underground before you see anything pop up over the surface of the soil. And I was like, yeah, I get it, but my bank account's running out. My credit cards are maxing out. And so after 6 months of trying that and failing miserably, I was like, I got to get back into the band hall. And I was a flight risk, to districts because I had just lasted the one semester at Marcus. There are districts that wouldn't touch me. They wouldn't take a chance. I went on several interviews, but was never offered anything. And so fast forward to TBA in 2006, like it's late in the summer, and I see a posting. Like back then, it was on a bulletin board, with paper, like
Oh
phone numbers,
man, the good
all
old
that.
days.
Yeah. So I walked up to that board and I saw, I didn't even know how to say it right. I It was the head band director at what I thought was Palestine High School. It was obviously Palestine is how you say it, but I didn't know that. It was like head band director, Palestine High School, and a phone number is all it had on it, on that blank sheet of paper otherwise. So I called and I said, "Yeah, I'm interested in the head band director job at Palestine High School." And he's like, "Well, here at Palestine High School, we are looking for a head band director." I was like, "Oh, dang it. I've already stuck my mouth." And, and they said, well, yeah, we can meet with you here at convention. And I was like, "Okay, great." So I had my suit and tie and everything. And, I forget if it was that same day or if it was the next day, whatever, but I met with the middle school directors, um, who were tasked with kind of going through all the interviews and everything. And I wound up getting their recommendation to go meet with the principal. And then that went well and I got the job. I had never been so thankful to be a band director again in my entire life. Like all those, sleepless nights of how what kind of a man am I if I can't provide for my family? I can't get, I can't sell a single insurance policy. I can't get, a band director job. And it was like, finally got the opportunity because I was so dang thankful. And I said, I'm going to do the very best job at this, and I'm going to treat people right. I'm going to put other people first, because I'm so stinking grateful for this opportunity. It's out in East Texas, behind the pine curtain, no resources whatsoever, and like, but I didn't care. I was going to do the best job I could possibly do, and I was there for 5 years, and it was some of the best 5 years of my entire life out there in Palestine.
Well, that once again is that whole entire day you have to have your cup full, and like you realize that things weren't going well over at Marcus, and like that's a stellar program, but if you're not feeling like the value with the product that you're doing, then automatically people are going to start checking out or start like not meshing well. I mean, it's the same thing with like band staffs. I mean, that's a common story. It's like, oh, I didn't mix well with so and so, and it's just also understanding how you have to support each other's vision, and then how to clearly state that vision to your staff. I know that's something that, as our staff, I'm very fortunate that I get to work with Alexa all the time, and she hasn't killed me yet.
Fortunate.
And you know
Yeah,
what I
Still
love?
time.
I love that you guys are a husband and wife team, because me and Kim were a husband and wife team for 17 years. We worked together from Western Hills all the way up through my time at Burleson Centennial. Um, and yeah, our skill sets complemented each other, and we shared an office, and then we went home to the same house, and we lived that same life of trying to balance everything and make it all work. And we had kids too, over the course of the journey, obviously. And just, I love seeing like another husband and wife team like you being successful, like we were trying to be, like with all the everything swirling around, and then kids too. Like I just love seeing, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. I just love seeing what you guys are doing and how you're able to make it work. It reminds me of a younger version of me and Kim, and I love that.
But you also know that there are some days where Kim probably wanted to kill you.
Oh, I am certain of it. I am absolutely positive. But I learned early on that the most important words for me to say were, "You're right. I'm sorry, and I love you." So
Yes.
so that
Yes.
that kind of that kept it moving down the tracks, without like too many issues. But yeah, I married, like you said, you married up. I married up too, man. We're in the same boat, that I don't deserve her. She is my everything. And yeah, for her to do all the things that she did for, well, not only for our family, of course, but then for the band program, and all the kids. Like, she is so good at organizational things, like the spreadsheets and the purchase order requests and the itineraries and the, you name it. If it's clerical, organizational, or whatever the case may be, she is a master at that. I never had to worry about any of it. We talked about it, but when it came to the actual, like, you know, inputting whatever, it was always done, and she did it, and she was happy to do it too. And I was more of the, I guess, if you want to call it that, vision kind of, like, I was more of the, you know, driving the program in the direction that it needed to be. But she was the one that kept us from getting fired. All the different little pieces of paperwork that need to be, like, filled out and turned in a certain, like, way at a certain time. Like, she took care of that. And so we had different skill sets, and we complemented each other well. I felt like.
Well, and I really do think that that situation for you at Marcus, whatever situation it was, is probably because of the vision that you had, that you wanted to instill, and it just wasn't being tapped into at that point.
Well, I think that I just wanted to be included. I wanted to be wanted. I wanted my voice to matter. I just felt like, it was too much of a transition from making all the decisions to being in none of them. I think that's the thing is like, and I was not ready to make any decisions, not for a program like that, not at that time. But I felt slighted by not being just included. I just felt offended, and I shouldn't have been. I should have just been thankful that I didn't have to
Well,
carry the weight of that on my shoulders and just teach the kids and just be happy with it is what I should have done.
yeah, especially since like I mean, you were really gun ho about everything, and then stepping into a program like that where things have been established and stuff like that, there probably wasn't enough time for trust to be built both directions.
Yeah, maybe so. It's like, I wasn't very patient, and I don't know, people weren't very patient with me either, and rightfully so. Like, I would have had trouble being patient with me in their shoes. So it all worked out, though. I think that's the thing is that the seeds of good are always planted in what seems like bad times. Like it's like you find that rock bottom, and then there's only one way to go. And I think that's what it was for me. Because if it wasn't for that market situation, then then I wouldn't have been so happy to get that job in East Texas. I would have not met all of the friends that I still have to this day that I met in East Texas. I would have not been able to, help create that kind of whatever we created there in Palestine, whatever you want to call it. Um, like none of that would have happened had the path been any different. So that was a big turning point for me. And in hindsight, I'm kind of thankful for it. I'm sorry for it, but I'm kind of thankful that it happened that way, because I came out of it a totally different version of myself, a totally different way, and I'm thankful for that.
I find myself apologizing to people all the time from when I was in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm like,
I've been
hey,
with you and you've done that.
yeah, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I'm like, because like there's just certain like perceptions of me from, especially when I was in college, of like how I was, because like to my benefit and to my downfall, that I am a person who's going to say the thing, you
Mhm.
know, they say the weird thing. I am that person. And if I, whatever I'm feeling, I'm also the one that's going to say it. If I'm disgruntled by something, I'm going to, instead of keeping it to myself and keeping it civil, I'm going to say it out loud. I've become much better about that. Like there was something that happened today that I'll discuss later. With you, Shawn, off the pod, uh, that I did, and I did it off of a whim,
Oh,
and I had to come
he didn't
home.
even tell me about
I
it.
didn't tell Alexa about it until later. I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know I did. She goes, what possessed you to do that? I go, I don't know. I just felt it.
It's like a woke up and chose violence situation almost, but yeah.
Yeah, but I have to find myself like apologizing to people I went to college with. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I was that way.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
I'm sorry, I had no filter.
Yeah, my college professors, they did not deserve that. So I've apologized to them as well, big time.
So tell me about the situation that you had at Palestine.
It's
Yeah,
Palestine.
Palestine, yep. Well, came in and there were 40 kids on the roster, 9 through 12, 40, 41, something like that. And that's all. It was on a sheet of paper. Like their names were on a sheet of no phone numbers, no anything else. And that I have to find these children coming in late. Now, fortunately, I got the job like and it was late TBA and all, so like the kids knew that summer practice was coming up, so like the assistant directors were kind of in charge of making all that happen. So they got as many of them as they could, and I had only had to track down you know a few of them. There wasn't that many anyway, but so we start right away, and just meet the kids where they are. There's not a whole lot of structure, not a whole lot of discipline, not a whole lot of playing ability, not a whole lot of kids, and that's just what we had. And again, I was just I was so happy to be there and have that chance. Um, so Kim, I think she came in and she was paid through, I think, the Booster Club or something like. She didn't have her position yet, so she just came in and helped. I think she came in late because she was still finishing up some DFW work that she had, and she came out, I think, in the spring semester during winter guard season. I think she came out later. But yeah, me and the team of directors that were there, we just dug in, got to work, and we just started making things happen. Um, Grinding it out like everybody else, I guess. And that first year it was tough. We didn't get a one in marching, but we got ones in concert and sight reading. We only had what, one trumpet.
Oh,
Yeah, one trumpet. Good thing she was good, because that would have been tough if we didn't have. And in the second year we had two trumpets, and then in the third year we had five. So it got better as we went. But yeah, man, there were some lean years, and we just had to, like I said, we needed everybody. We couldn't. Somebody wanted to quit band, it was a let's talk about this and let's figure this out kind of a thing. So yeah, one of my biggest mistakes actually happened in that first year at Palestine. And so get this, the band was already pretty small. And so we went to a playoff game. It was the Thanksgiving playoff game, and the second 6 weeks had just hit, and we were struggling. We were struggling with kids not doing their pass offs, because they never had to do that before. And some of the kids even said it out loud. It's like, "What are you going to do? Fail me?" And I was like, "Well, yes, actually, I will." So,
put your money where your mouth is.
so what happened was, I had not called any parents. I just took the pass off sheet, that was on the wall, the poster board, and I just put it down by my computer, and I started entering grades based off of who passed off what or who didn't. And I failed half the band, the 42 kids or however many. Only 20 of them were eligible to come to the playoff football game, the Thanksgiving Black Friday football game.
Well, y'all were deep in the playoffs.
We were, yeah. Adrian Peterson's from Palestine High School. Yeah, he's a grad of Palestine High School, by the way. So anyway, the principal was livid with me because they didn't fail any other classes. They failed band. And did I call any parents? No. Did I offer any kind of extra credit? No. I just like I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. We're going to create this culture, this standard of excellence, and that you're not going to get away with that kind of apathy here. Sorry, no. So teachers were livid with me because they were involved in other activities and now they were ineligible to participate in those other activities. I basically just blew up so many relationships there in that moment that it was awful. And guess who was our opponent at that football game? Robinson High School. They had what seemed like a million kids out on the field. It was definitely over 200, or it felt like, and a sea of blue and white out on the field. And here comes my little postage stamp, 20 kids, and I'm getting side eye from school board members and my administration, and it was bad. It was bad, Jose. It was bad, Alexa. It was so bad. And I got called into the principal's office like as soon as like Thanksgiving break was done, like Monday, I was in the principal's office. What are you doing to the band? And I had to answer as I had put on a growth plan and everything. It's like it was awful. Well, that principal had other stuff going on, and he wound up leaving during the summertime, and we didn't even get a principal for my second year there. Like there was no principal. It was just a team of administrators trying to hold everything together. Like band was the last thing on their minds. It was crazy times. But anyway, I could just continue to build culture. I didn't make that same mistake again. I did not. I had to work to repair some relationships, but the kids understood from that moment on. They knew that they had to do their pass offs, or bad things would happen to them. So if there was anything
And
good,
to you.
right, and to me, right, but yeah, but yeah, they started doing their pass offs though. They started turning in their work, and we started to get better. So, and then the second year we continued to improve. I had Tom Bennett come out, and he helped with some ensemble and individual concepts that, like, he's so good at. And yeah, we started our climb. And then what happened in the third year, like, we actually got a principal, and he was a dynamic, like from the Metroplex, the DFW Metroplex, Sean Joseph. He was another one of my best bosses ever. I had an epiphany. I was laying in bed, just staring at the ceiling, because I think Kim was pregnant with Mason at the time, and I was thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be a good dad, a good husband, a good band director? How am I going to do this? Um, because there's only so many hours in a day. And then it occurred to me, I'm doing this wrong. Like, instead of doing all, like, full band class together, like in first period or whatever, and doing sectionals after school and stacking it up until all hours of the night, we should make the classes sectionals, like homogeneous beginner classes are. Like, these kids need to build their skills anyway. So let's just put our full ensemble stuff before school, like our marching band practice before school. And when marching band's done, concert band, like, just bring them in then. And then every, like, first period is flutes and clarinets, or flutes and trumpets rather. And then, next class is saxophones and horns. And the next class is, low brass, and the next class is trumpets. It's like, and just split it out homogeneous style, like that. And that third year, we were able to get those kids' skills not just caught up, but we were able to get them ahead, just because there was only 5 kids in front of us in the room, and we were down the row every single day. Accountability, meeting them where they were, teaching them how to count, rhythms, articulations, scale patterns, all of it. Like, we did all of it. And um and then, because of it, we were able to then increase the difficulty level of the music that we started to play. Like, we were able to play, and it didn't take long, we were able to play, like, Holst's First Suite, like, all of it. We were able to play Samuel Barber Commando March. We did Carmina Burana, 7 movements of Carmina Burana. And we were Sorcerer's Apprentice, the Hinesley transcription of Sorcerer's Apprentice. We were doing all this music, and we were succeeding. We were getting recognized for all of this. And, of course, Richard Kearns is doing amazing things with a percussion program. My wife Kim was running the color guard and all the woodwind sections of those homogeneous classes. I was doing the brass classes, and we had all of our bases covered. The middle school was doing a great job down there, and we went there as much as we could. But yeah, we had a principal that said yes to what was a crazy idea at the time, and it wound up paying off so big. It was amazing. It was so fun. I remember being able to stand in front of those masterworks, the kids playing these masterworks, and I was like, this is great, because now at the end of the day I can go home, because the full ensemble is done, the sectionals are done. We had, Kim um, did, the administrative work that needed to be done, and we went home. We didn't need to stay in the band hall. And then we did have time for our boys. We did have time for ourselves to refill our cup. um, it was lightning in a bottle, really. And then we just kept that system, like, for the next, couple of years. We were only there for 5 years, but we were able to make some serious strides. One year we had 8 all-staters, like 8 ETSSB all-staters. It was funny, at area that we were accused of cheating. Like, there are other directors that kept looking at the sheet. It's like, Palestine? How? You must be up to something. It's like, no, we were just teaching the kids. We just had a system that worked, and we had good people running it. And so that was fun. And then being an honor band finalist was pretty cool too. Like we didn't quite make the state marching contest. We were one away. We were the alternate to state marching contest in 2010. Um, we were fifth place after prelims and obviously in finals, but a rainstorm came through and canceled finals. So they went with the prelims results and we were one out. But I still feel to this day that if we had a finals run, then we would have climbed at least a couple of spots because we had players. Like we had talent in there that we had cultivated, we developed, and we just didn't get that finals run, and we just had to, suck it up, and it was fine. Eventually, it wasn't fine.
It wasn't fine then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that also tells you like you have to find what's going to work best for your situation. Like nothing's ever going to be a cookie cutter, like whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. It just so happened that we had a band parent who was a counselor who like she wanted the band to be good, and the principal said go for it. We gave that counselor flowers and chocolate and all the things because it's a lot to have to rework the schedule like that because it made band a onesie course offering kind of like AP classes, and like it really put the schedule in a bind because band kids had to be placed in certain sections and there were no other sections that they could go. The trumpets only meet in this class period at this time. The clarinets only meet in this class period at this time. There wasn't like a top band, second band situation that we could have put them in. That was it. So they made it work, and the rest is history.
So you're there for 5 years and then you move on to where?
To Azle, America, like just northwest of Fort Worth. And yeah, they called, and I don't know, somebody told them about what we were doing in Palestine, and they said, we'd love to talk to you about maybe bringing that level of excellence here. The legendary Dr. Ross Grant was the director there for a time, and after he left, then they had an interim director, and they wanted somebody more long term. So, I told him I'm super happy where I am at Palestine. We're doing some great things and making a difference with these kids. They said, we'll make it worth your while. I said, okay, well, we'll go up there and we'll talk to you. And I told him, I said, if you want me here, you're gonna need to bring my team with me. So my wife is gonna need to be on the staff. My percussion director, we're gonna need him too. And that's how it is because without them, I'm nothing. And they made it. They somehow found a way to make it work. And then Richard Kearns' wife was a elementary teacher, and they made it work for her too. That it all, like small towns, you're just able to, if they're motivated, you can do so many more things. Like the bigger school districts that have multiple high schools and such, they have to have equity. That it's harder for them to pull strings and push buttons like that, I find. But yeah, they made it work. Like all the boxes were checked, and they said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we went up there and then started our Azle chapter together.
And how long were you there?
4 years, 4 years at Azle. I know I'm a jumper, but yeah, that was a tricky situation because Dr. Grant had created this. I don't know. They had been to state many times for marching band, and they had just gotten a 2 at marching contest the year before I got there, like with their interim director. So here we're coming into this situation where the kids, were not at a first division level, but we were expected to be at state level in our first year. So, and there's a ton of kids, like 250 kids, and it was tricky. My youngest, Hayden, was born that summer. August 16th is his birthday, so that's right at the end of summer band and the start of school. So there was that we had to manage, which you know all too well how important band events and the birth of children, how that goes. But yeah, we you know that we were living in Dr. Grant's shadow, and he earned that. But anything that we did, well, that's not what Dr. Grant used to do. We'd have to kind of face that a bit, and just have to tell people, you're going to have to trust us. You're going to have to trust us on this. And it paid off. That first year, we got the kids back to first division level, and we advanced to the state marching contest in 2011. And then a lot of that kind of quieted down after that point. A lot of the naysayers quieted down.
Well, that's it's such a dangerous thing stepping into a program like that, just because like the expectations are there, and just like being fully aware that of what it's going to take to keep the program running at that high of a level, because like I know some people who have stepped into a job like that and gone like, "Oh, the program's going to run itself," blah 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 blah, and it's like, no, 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 no. There's still work that has to happen, like, but I mean, you just don't fully realize it until you're there, and that's why like I've always said that I try not to compare myself to what other head directors do at other schools, because I don't fight the same battles that they fight, and they don't fight the same battles that I fight.
Yeah, every place is different. Yep, you're right.
And so I'm very like fortunate that I have very, very, very supportive admin, and not everywhere has that. And so therefore it makes it hard for me to ever want to leave Gatesville.
Yeah, you got a good setup there for sure. You got a great team that just keeps getting greater. I heard you hired a fantastic percussion director. I know, there's only one Mr. Hamilton, but I hear that you've got somebody amazing that's going to be joining your team. Great attracts great. So I'm excited to see what you guys continue to do in the future.
I feel bad for the people that we interviewed, um, because we ran through we put our percussion
We really
directors,
did.
we put them through the ringers
Yeah.
like this year.
I don't know. Maybe this is just because I'm on the side of it, but I feel like it's hard to have a percussionist on staff that's not the percussion director, but sitting in an interview asking you percussion questions. Like that is a different
Energy.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I just am very particular, and I know like I don't want to be a percussion director, like full stop. But I do have percussion ideology, and pedagogical things, and it's just like I I know that's not fun.
Yeah.
I
Well,
know that's
like
not a fun thing.
it's just like Sean being like a brass person. There's certain things that Sean's going to want to hear and teach, and his idea and vision of what a
Mhm.
trumpet player is going to be
Yes.
is very going to be very specific to him.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I
And
mean,
I'm open to anything, and I'm open to how anyone wants to teach. It's just like at the end of the day, like these are my core percussion beliefs, and like I want to make sure we're on the same page type of thing. I know where I want it to go,
Mhm.
and I just have to, you know, make sure that we're all on the same page.
like for example, I'll go ahead and spill the beans on this part of this, and this was probably the mainest thing I've done during an interview, is that we did our interviews in the percussion room of our band hall, and we had a drum set up, and I just straight up asked them. I go, "Can you play something for me?"
Which,
Okay.
to be fair, if you asked me to do that in an interview now, I'd be like, okay, cool. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have been like, uh, okay.
Well, and like my whole entire thought process behind that was like, I want to see you under pressure, and if you crack underneath the pressure of just playing me something on drum set, then we're gonna have a different set of issues, because you're dealing with a program that's trying to be a consistently like competitive,
Hmm.
and that has its own pressure, and if you can't perform as a performer, my kids will probably not respect you the way I want them to, partially because our previous percussion director is like a great percussionist,
Yeah.
and he's a drum set player, and they have to be able to respect your input and
Oh,
your
yeah.
talent level.
The funny thing is, too, Corbin is oddly percussion focused in some ways because he's been obviously so involved in it, but he's very like attentive to percussion. Like one of his besties in high school was a percussionist and that carried over to college and so on and so forth. So if you talk to Corbin about percussion, he is very knowledgeable. And he's a huge drum corps nerd too, which helps. But he was asking very pointed questions that were based on real life scenarios that have been encountered in the Gatesville band program. And I think that some of the candidates were just like thought he was making up some of the questions that he had, but it was like, no, we were asking you. It's like when you tell your junior high kids, okay, I'm going to tell you this because I know you're going to do it because I've had people do it before. It's the same type of thing. Like if this, and this happened, what would you do?
Yeah. Like if you have a front ensemble failure, like the electronics fell on you,
In
what will
finals
you
at
do?
BOA, like, yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, those scenario questions, it's good information to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're at Azel, and then you hop over to
Burleson Centennial.
Berlin, and that's honestly the first time I heard about you as a band director. Like me being in the profession, like I heard, oh, Shawn Murphy, Burleson Centennial. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Well, it's the same kind of deal. We get the phone call. We have a head band director opening. I had not applied, and they just, because Azel had gone to a lot of the same marching contests as Burleson Centennial, and they had seen our success. We went to the state marching contest twice, and we were preparing to become a finalist. Like we were 18th, and then we were 13th, and then we felt like this upcoming year was going to be like we were going to be in the top 10. So it was in the summer of 2015, and they said, "Hey, are you familiar with Burleson Centennial?" And I said, "Yeah, we go to indoor contests there like all the time, and it's a beautiful campus, and yeah, your band parents are super hospitable. The hospitality spread is always top notch, and the contest is always well run. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about." He said, "Well, we're looking to hire a band director. Your name came up, and again, same story. So I go out there and I say, well, I mean, interview went great. They, um, I told him, I said, well, we run a special schedule, like a homogeneous schedule, that Azel had allowed me to adopt from Palestine. And then, I said that again, I'm going to have to bring these people with me, as my staff members. And if none of those were agreeable, then we were just going to stay put and be super, super happy, with that environment, with that setup. And they said yes to everything. And we're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to Burleson. So off we go. And, the, yeah, once you like, when you get a blueprint and it's successful, like you said, when you find a system that works for you, then, you know, that's what works. And we found that with a homogeneous high school schedule, the full ensemble in the morning, sectionals during class, we just became better at it. We found ways to make it more effective and be more efficient with our time, and just be better at it. And then that was, I don't know, that we just did the same thing, and it climbed faster. Like the kids got better quicker. And we also had some fantastic help there too. Catherine and Andrew Klein are also, husband and wife. They don't work in the same. Well, they do kind of. I mean, Andrew is a percussion specialist, band director, and then Catherine, flute player, head band director at the main feeder to Centennial at Kerr. And they're, you know, Andrew teaches the percussion at the middle school, but then also like has his desk at the high school. So they're kind of a husband and wife team as well. And yeah, that's such great help. Richard Falls was on our team there. Philip Jones, who's now at South Lake Carroll, he was an integral part, especially with our indoor winds program that we ran for a couple years. That really helped train the kids visually, and they just kept the horn on their faces for longer. And we were able to create some pretty cool moments with that. But yeah, Richard Kearns and then Victor Mooney, just master teachers, that was our team. That we had such good people working, and we had a system that we had kind of cracked the code on. And yeah, again, that grew even faster. Like the Palestine situation was what it was, and then Azel, it kicked up a notch, and then the Burleson Centennial, it kicked up a notch. And yeah, they in 2019 they were awarded fifth place in 5A at the state marching contest. So pretty
Man.
proud of that.
So you just keep on building, 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 and then I know one of the big moves that you did because it almost kind of affected us for like honestly, because Gatesville and Liberty Hill used to play each other in football when Liberty Hill was a 4A. Before they made the jump into the 5A realm. And I think that's when Liberty Hill made a decision to try and be competitive in band. And you went over there. And I think that's when you and I started first having our first interactions. So you go over to Liberty Hill after your time at Burleson Centennial, and and like that band program as a 4A wasn't super competitive from what I remember.
Yeah.
So you convinced Liberty Hill to switch into your system as well, correct?
Right. Yeah. My wife's mom, my mother-in-law, and then my wife's brother, they both live in Austin, the Austin area. And the like all the different moves were for my job, and we were either in East Texas or in DFW, and DFW is where my family is. And I just kind of felt bad that, you know, we weren't able to spend more time, or her family had to drive so much further to be with us, to see us and visit and all that type of thing. As I felt like, it's just not fair. And then the the you know it was a right time for another build. Like I said, I'm drawn to the underdogs, and then when the underdogs they're not underdogs anymore, then I don't want to say it's less fun, but I feel like, I don't know. I just I just want to work. I just want to get my hands dirty. I want to roll up my sleeves, and I want to build. I want to build things, and when it gets to a certain point, I don't want to say it's less fulfilling, but it's just like, I don't know, kids and parents seem so much more grateful when they're not great, and then they become great. Like over time, they're so appreciative of the climb and the growth and all of that. And then when they become state caliber, then it's kind of expected, I suppose. And I don't know, an air of entitlement perhaps is maybe, I don't know, not the right word choice, but it just feels like there's not as much magic in that type of a situation. So I just needed more magic and more. I needed another underdog to help build.
Well, there we've talked to several people, and one of the things I've heard people say is like, I've only have one rebuild in me. And I feel like that's not you. I feel like you're like that's what you live for, is
But
for
yeah,
the rebuild.
right. Yeah, I run toward the burning buildings.
So that leads me, and I'm gonna have to apologize because we mentioned your emails in a previous podcast,
Hmm.
and then you were like, "Hey, I actually never explained my email to you,"
Hmm.
and your email is Jetpack Turtle. Can you tell us the reason why it's called Jetpack Turtle and the origins and when that happened?
Sure. Yeah, jetpackturtle11 at gmail.com is my email, my personal email, or one of them. I have more. But yeah, it goes back to the whole tortoise and the hare, Aesop's fable kind of a story where, we all know it, that they're in a race, and the the rabbit is clearly the faster, racer, but gets complacent and takes a nap on the race route. But the tortoise keeps on going, just slowly trudging along, and of course winds up winning the race. And just as that goes, it feeds into that whole underdog spirit that, that you work hard, and like, what is the phrase? It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I really believe that. That resonates with me. But with the whole homogeneous high school schedule that was piloted in Palestine and then carried to Azle and then to Burleson Centennial and then to Liberty Hill, it was like, yeah, we were the turtle, but we had an advantage. We had a jetpack strapped to us, and that there was no way that you could compete with that. It was a very, I don't know, David and Goliath kind of mentality. Oh, and by the way, one of my favorite authors, Malcolm Gladwell, is he has a book called David and Goliath where he revisits that story, that epic underdog tale, and he sheds some light on it that may kind of surprise you a bit. And I'll spoil just a smidgen of the book. There's so many underdog stories in there. It's very inspiring. I highly recommend it. But he proposes that David was not the underdog in that fight, and everybody in the Valley of Elah knew it. The Israelite army and the Philistines army, they knew it. When Goliath went down to the spot, he had all his armor on and his weapons, like, and then they saw David, and he came with his sling and rock. Like, they knew it was over, and Goliath was not going to win. Like, isn't that compelling?
That's very interesting.
But here's why. Like, slingers in that day were trained, like, to be highly accurate, like for 600 yards. Like, they could stand, like, that's 2 football fields worth of space, and they could hit with accuracy a target of their choosing at high velocity, like lethal velocity. It's the equivalent of today's handgun. But yeah, this I think that sometimes what happens is we see situations that seem insurmountable, but there are advantages in that. Like, David was not weighed down with armor. Like, he was mobile, he was fast, and he had a weapon that was lethal from distance. He was never going to go up and fight Goliath hand to hand. That was not his style. Like, he was not ever going to do that. Like, he was going to target the only exposed point on Goliath, his forehead, hit him with a stone, and then the rest was history. But everybody knew that. They knew that a slinger with their skills was going to annihilate someone like Goliath. And the story has been told wrong all these years, of these generations. Like, it's just fascinating. So anyway, Malcolm Gladwell, David and Goliath, all of the stuff that he writes is great, and I highly recommend it.
Does your band budget feel like it's stuck on repeat? Same old fundraiser, same week results? It's time to change the rhythm. FanPledge with Sean Murphy brings the beat back with fun, fast, and effective fundraising. No product sales, no deliveries, and if you don't raise at least 10% more than your current donation based fundraiser, it's free. Call Sean at 903-948-7348. FanPledge, the choice of champions.
So Liberty Hill, and you do great things there. Was it you that did the Americana show there?
hmm Yeah, that was the first was there for 2 years. The first show was a tribute to their late head coach who had just passed away the year previous, and the show's title was "All of Us for Him." Um, all of us was the footballs, like, bring it in chant, like, when the breakdown is like, all of us, who, whatever it is that they do. So we borrowed that from that, but then we implemented hymns into the show. So it was all of us, the number 4 for fourth quarter, like football players put 4 fingers up in the air for fourth quarter. for him, HYMN. So all of us for him. So for Coach Walker, but then also, play on words. We were using hymns in the show, and Coach Walker's favorite hymn, his wife told me, was "How Great Thou Art." So we made that into our closer, and we had it was it was awesome. The beginning of our show, we basically had an alleyway, like a block that had a big alleyway through it. We had football players hide behind a prop, and then right when the show started, they came out with an American flag and a Texas flag, and they were running in uniform, like through our block down to the front sideline on a diagonal, and it was a really cool tribute to Coach. And then at the very end of the show, we had one singular football player in uniform. He came from the backside one uh, part of the field, and it was a very kind of coach pep talk kind of a feel, like a snare drum, like light snare drum, and then a flute solo of the how great thou art hymn, and getting kind of choked up just thinking about it. But the kids formed a little alleyway, and they were on a knee, and then as he passed them, he was carrying a flag that had JW on it for the coach's initials. And then he made his way down to, the end of the alleyway. The kids are all standing, and then they start doing their drill for the closer, and it's just building, building, building into a company front of that "How Great Thou Art" hymn. And it's just as loud as we can play. And there he is, that football player with that flag, a tribute to his coach, right in front of it all. And then the company front kind of works its way into an arc, and then the dance team and the cheerleaders and all the football players rally around that flag. And that was year one at Liberty Hill. It was important for me to honor someone who was very important in their community, and his family was very gracious in allowing me to do so. And yeah, I thought it was something that had to be done. They had another show picked out when I was hired, and I said, no, we need to do something. We need to do this other, and we did. So that was year number one, and very, very well received. Standing ovations from the Liberty Hill football crowd. Like, we performed it for the very first time in homecoming before the game, and it was standing ovation, and not a dry eye in the house. So that was awesome. Year number two, we did a show called American Soldier, and that was the Americana show that you were talking about. Reed Atkinson is just incredible, by the way. Like, if you, that dude, like, he can help you in so many ways, make your marching band show connect. It's the work he does is so professional, it's so artistic, and he's such a good guy to work with. And like, he just conjured up all of these images and the kind of props that we used. And yeah, so year number two was an even like it was just as powerful, I thought. And the kids performed the snot out of it, and I was just so proud. But yeah, 2 years at Liberty Hill and those marching band shows were some of the most meaningful in my entire career.
Yeah, because I remember you making or somebody making a post that you needed podiums. I was like, why does he need so many podiums? And then I saw the show. I was like, that's why they needed so many podiums.
Yeah, we had a prop that was, it kind of took up a good bit of the front sideline. That was a replica of the Vietnam Memorial. If you've ever been to Washington D.C. and you've seen like the Washington or the I can't speak, the Vietnam Memorial, and how it's shaped. It's kind of like I don't know. It rises out of the ground, and it's kind of like a obtuse angle, and it then goes back down into the ground, and there's all the names are etched into it, and it's just a very, it's a very moving place. If you've ever visited, but
Yeah.
yeah, we wanted to kind of conjure that image of the memorial, not exactly, but close, and then have part of it be a stage for our performers to stand on at the end of the show, or throughout the show. Our soloists, ensembles, they all worked their way up there, and the whole brass section was up there at the end. But yeah, we needed some of those Jarvis podiums so that we could get them up there in time. So
So you're there. Didn't that show win? Did that win area? Yeah, it won area that year. I remember that because I remember seeing a video because your kids were wearing like green airman suits.
yeah, it was kind of cool. The tops, and again, this is Reed's brainchild. It was kind of like it was changeable. Like it had this flap that there was magnets on the shoulders that you could have one pattern visible on the jacket, and then you could take those magnets on that flap and then put it on the other shoulder, and it would be completely different front look. So like that was brilliant. There was magnets under the arm as well, like on your sides, so that it would stay. But yeah, there was a kind of a desert camo flap like on one side, and then you take it and flap turn it to the other way, and then the whole front was a green, like army officer look to it, is what it was. So yeah, it was brilliant as far as costuming is concerned, and it was Reed's brainchild on making that happen, and the way that we were able to utilize it too was super effective. Um, like because we changed it when we were facing back field at the end of the ballot, so we would turn back around like for the closer, and you see a totally different like color and look from the wind players and the percussionists, the battery percussion. Yeah, that was cool. We got hearing the crowd go ooh like when they turned around was kind of fun.
So you spend your 2 years there, and then you go over to a powerhouse program in Vista Ridge. How was it like taking over that program?
Well, I mean, it was wild. It was totally unexpected because I thought I was going to retire at Liberty Hill for sure. I mean, they were taking such good care of us, and we were improving at such a fast rate. I felt it was the fastest build out of all of them. We were climbing farther and faster than any of the other places previously, and yeah, it was something that I did not expect at all when I heard the news that Brian Christian had decided to retire at the end of the year. Like I was like, oh well, that's awesome. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. But fortune had it, and I mean, that's where my kids go to school. Mason was a freshman at Vista Ridge High School, and Hayden um, was, I think he was still at elementary school at that time. He was not quite at Henry Middle, but he was about to go there. And so yeah, it was. Um, I got invited to interview, and things worked out, and yeah. So for the 23-24 season, I got to be the head band director at Vista Ridge High School. It's something I never thought would ever happen.
And like I said, this is like our where our journey kind of started to intersect is because um, Liberty Hill hosted area marching contest that year, and I asked if we could come do a walk around of like to see the map of the stadium on like the track that we would be taking for area marching contest, and like that's where you and I first talked and all that kind of stuff, and you were very gracious to us, and then the following year you just happened to be at Vista Ridge, and I'm friends with Zach Santos, and he arranged for us to like hang out in y'all's gym while y'all had like a visual rehearsal, and like I got to interact with you a little bit more and like see some of the things that y'all did behind the scenes, and I thought like that was like amazing. And like having our kids from our 4A school like see a powerhouse program like that operate was like for them it was like this is what we're capable of doing if we can do it. if we decide to do this. And then so that was really, really amazing. And now you work as a consultant, and you are living the dream of picking the jobs you want to take.
Right? Yeah, I mean it's wild. It's something that you can't script. I never could have. It's just I don't know. You try, like you think in terms of like in your quiet moments, you try to map out what your future might be like, and I never would have thought when I was in college or just starting out in band directing that my band directing career would have taken the path that it has. Um, but it's just it's just wild, and every place has has been rewarding and gratifying in different ways. And the kids that I was able to teach, many of like a lot of there are so many kids, like some of the kids that were, in my early days that are now in their mid 40s, and then like these kids have grown up to be adults and professionals, and they have families and that type of thing, and to see them grow, and when they reach back out and say, hey, I remember, the good old days in band, and what you always used to say, and I always show up early. To be early is to be on time. We used to preach that all the time, and they say I still use that today, like at my job, or I hear myself channeling you, like when I'm talking to my kids, or that type of stuff. So yeah, I've lived a pretty blessed life, and you're right. Now I get to work with you know when and with whom I want, and it's pretty cool. I do miss sometimes the underdog, like building like an underdog program. I feel like there's still gas left in the tank, and I wouldn't rule out a return if the right opportunity came around. But right now, I like those afternoon naps are so good, y'all. I'm telling you, they're so
We can
good.
only dream. We can only
I'm
dream.
not a napper, so
I am such a big napper.
I know you are.
Like, oh, I can nap anytime. So, Sean, why band?
Well, there was this girl I was chasing when I was in fifth grade named Brandy Gilreath, and she would have nothing to do with me. But man, I I I was enamored. So I found out in the spring of my fifth grade year that she had signed up to be in band. I was like, well, I know what I'm going to do. So I signed up for band also. So I show up, after summer's over, and I'm in band. I'm ready. Let's go. And Brandy moved. So, and I'm still in band.
So were you the best musician? I know my stance, and if you've listened to the podcast, well, Alexa has gone off the deep end, and I've started telling all the boys why I did band and how I got good at tuba, and it's
Mhm.
because of the girls.
It's a recruiting tactic. I
Mhm.
don't see what's the
I
problem
just
is,
like, why are you
Is
telling
it
them my business?
is it true?
Yes,
Did it get you to stay in band?
yes.
Can it be inspirational to the
I
young men of tomorrow?
I mean, yeah.
Well, then all right. And women.
Yeah.
There was another instance where we convinced a student to stay in band based on their current romantic interests. So,
True. True.
Whatever you got to do, right?
whatever you got to
I
do.
mean,
You know what the problem is though is because it's, junior high and high school that happens and then they break up and then it's like whew, this is rough for everybody involved now.
I have to have the talk with the kids. I'm like,
Especially if they're in the same section.
yeah, I'm like, hey, guys, don't break up the band.
Don't break up the
Don't
band.
break up the band.
Rule. I had a rule that you're not allowed to break up with your significant before our final marching band competition. Like you're not allowed.
Man.
Oh my
Man.
goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure she won't mind me telling the story.
Probably not.
So, our trumpet soloist for our show this year,
Mhm.
her boyfriend broke up with her the day of state marching contest.
See, no,
I thought it was between prelims and
Oh,
finals.
it might have been between prelims and finals.
I would have like see you should have had a policy like mine that forbade that.
Well,
Oh,
she was in the band at the time and he
yeah,
was
he
not.
graduated. He had just graduated, and so like when I finally saw him
The
again,
policy would have been non-binding, you
yeah.
know?
Oh,
No,
when I finally saw
was
him,
he a band kid when he was in school?
Mm.
yes.
Then he would have heard the policy and he would have known it. He'll be fine.
I when I finally saw him again, I go, "You come here!" Right? Oh, I embarrassed him in front of his friends, but I was like, "What are you doing?" So, were you the best musician in your band?
No, not even close. Like I said before, the Denton High School band was small, but it was strong, and there were all state caliber players, like just chock full. Being in Denton, there were University of North Texas music professors' kids in the band, and who were friends of mine. And yeah, it was just and my parents were not musicians, so they didn't quite understand the importance of private lessons. There were private lessons available up there, but they thought that that was for remediation. I think it was like tutoring for
Nah.
math. If you were struggling at math and you would go get math tutoring. Um, I think that they didn't understand that that's how you got ahead in music, was to take lessons. So all my buddies in the band were taking lessons, and I would just pay really close attention to them and what they were doing, and just try to copy that, try to mimic that as best I could. Um, when my parents found out that you could get scholarship money for college, then they're like, "Oh, let's get you in
You know,
lessons now." So it's like my spring semester of junior year, and then my senior year, I finally got to get into lessons. But yeah, by that time, they like they wanted me in like twice a week for lessons, But it just I was a late bloomer. I was always in the top bands, but I was not first chair. I was always kind of mid to top of the section, but never really like first chair, if that makes sense.
mhm. I,
Um,
I've never thought about it that way. Like, you need some lessons, you dummy.
Oh, I have. I've told people that before.
I'm like, I've never like I guess just because I always kind of drifted towards the top because I worked hard at it.
Brag a little bit more,
I'm
okay?
sorry. That's just the way it happened just because well, I just worked really hard all the time at it.
mhm.
And so when I saw people like, I'm like, oh, you're doing lessons. Oh, that's because you're good.
Yeah,
That's the way I equated it.
yeah.
I've never really thought about the other way.
Yeah. Well, I've said this before, but I grew up with somebody in my bank program that's like an outstanding professional musician, and he always took lessons, and so I kind of like knew that was a thing, but I was too stupid to realize that I should also be doing it. Sometimes I wonder how I like became an adult and like became functional, because when I think back to like my high school days and even slightly early college, like I was so stupid. It's like honestly like how did I get anywhere, you know?
Ignorance is bliss.
But yeah, that was like a thing is like I'm like, "Oh, well, he's taking lessons like constantly. Maybe I should do that." Like that was never a I don't know.
So how did you get tapped into DCI then?
Well, like I said, the Denton High School program under Don Hanna and Ray Staniszewski, power director team back in the day. um, they just created this level of excellence there, that kids just aspired to the highest levels of whatever it is that they were doing. And they're in my trumpet section, well, cornets, we all played cornets in the Denton High School band, by the way. In my cornet section, there were some upperclassmen, one in particular, Todd Blackman, who had just come back off the road from marching in the Skyriders, which was the Texas-based drum corps for that time.
They're coming back, by the way.
I hear that. I hear that. Excited. But the he Todd Blackman pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you know what? You remind me of some people that I marched with in drum corps." And I was like, "No way! Like you're whatever, dude." He's like, "No, no, you should totally audition." I was like, "You think so?" He's like, "Yeah, come on out. You'll do great." So I did. I went out to audition for the Skyriders, and I auditioned for Bill Watson. He was the caption head for the brass section of the Skyriders, and I didn't know who Bill Watson was at the time. Now he's a legend, but yeah, I just played my solo that I had worked up, and he says, "Yeah, you're good enough to be in this drum corps." And I was like, okay, great." Um, but then I was in the soprano section, and but I was looking over at the mellows, like that seems cooler. Like they're getting all these 16th notes and all this fun like counter melody stuff, and you know, and I was never really a high note player on trumpet, still not today, and and of course the mellophone is pitched lower than a trumpet, so you could do all this crazy stuff and then play at the top of the mellophone staff, and it doesn't like tax your chops. I was like, this is totally for me, because I was all about the finger dexterity stuff, and I really gravitated toward that. So I went up to Bill and said, "Hey, can I do mellophone instead?" And he kind of like, "No, we need you in the soprano section, but I really want to do mellophone." And he was like, "But we really need you." And I wouldn't let up. Like I said, I was relentless when I was younger. And I just wouldn't stop. And he's like, "Fine, kid, do it. Here, mellophone, go." So, and then from that point on, I was a mellophone throughout like my marching experience, like in drum corps and in college marching band. I played mellophone for those shows. So yeah, that was my introduction into drum corps. Then 2 years of that, and the Skywriters had some financial difficulty and they folded. So I had 3 more years worth of eligibility left before I aged out, and I wrote handwritten letters to 3 different drum corps. There was the Star of Indiana, which was amazing back then, by the way, just incredible. All the stories you hear are true. It was iconic. I wrote a letter explaining my situation and that I had marched drum corps, and that my corps is no longer, around anymore. I'd love to have the opportunity to audition for you. And this was in, I think, March of '94. So all the auditions were done, horn lines were set, and it was going to be kind of, I don't know, a long shot to get in anywhere. So I wrote a letter to Phantom Regiment, and I wrote a letter to Blue Devils, and I sent them out. I sent them out, and hoped against all hope that I would get some kind of response. I put my phone number, my dorm room phone number, down by my signature, and hope to hear from you soon. So some time passes, and then my dorm room phone rings, and I pick it up, and they say, "Hi, can I speak to Shawn Murphy?" I was like, "Yeah, this is Shawn speaking. Hi, this is Wayne Downey with the Blue Devils. I got your letter, and I'd like to talk to you about that." I was like, "What? Okay, sure, sure. Just be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool." All right, so um, just talking to me, so I read that you're a student at the University of North Texas, and you have a couple years of Skywriters drum corps experience, and that is this right that you placed third in individual and ensemble, which was the solo and ensemble competition of drum corps. And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And the next words that he said, I'll never forget. He says, "When can you be here?" And I was like, Memorial Day camp. And this dude hadn't heard a note. I had not played a note for him. I had not marched any for the visual staff, and it's like, and he's asking me when I can be there to fill a spot that just recently came open. And um and so I said, "Memorial Day camp, is that okay?" And he said, "Absolutely. We'll see you then. I'll be in contact with you. We'll be sending you some information. Welcome to the Blue Devils," is what he said. And I was like, holy smokes. As I hung up the phone, I was like, I'm in the Blue Devils. And like it just happened just like that. And then I spent 3 amazing summers in the Blue Devils, um, making lifelong friends. The best man of my wedding I met at Blue Devils, and friends that I have today. It's still in. It's just I still can't believe that happened in that way. I just can't believe it. Right place, right time, and yeah, magic.
Ladies and gentlemen, when he says dorm room phone, that's called a landline.
Right? I know. I gotta make sure that I explain these
It's
things.
it's a different era. Like it is completely a different era. And I'm thinking about that.
I'm
Like
I'm just imagining Sean going to tell like his roomie, like, I got into Blue Devils, and then being like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
Lies. Lies.
Proof. Like what it's like you could show him a picture like on your phone or something
Yeah.
like that, but
Now
it's
it's
like, no,
like,
Wayne
no,
Downey
no,
just
no,
called the
yeah,
dorm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, like my dorm room was in Bruce Hall at the University of North Texas, and it overlooked the volleyball court, the sand volleyball court that was in a courtyard. And there were some of my because I would normally be down there playing with them, but I was on the phone. So I remember throwing the window up and like sticking my body out the window and yelling to my friends, "You'll never believe this. I'm in the Blue Devils," and everybody's like, "Yay! Good job!" And it was just one of those moments that I don't know. I every day they talked about like how grateful I was to be a band director again in Palestine when that happened. That's how I felt then too. And every day that I got to put on that uniform or go out to rehearsal, I I just took it in from I just they say stop and smell the roses. No, I did that every single day. I looked around at the talent that was around me and I just shook my head thinking, this is insane. This is absolutely insane that they're letting me stay here and they're letting me wear this uniform. I felt like any moment I would get pulled to the side and say, Sean, I'm sorry, you've been cut and you're going to have to go home. Just I felt like every day that I got was a gift, and I didn't take that for granted. We were pretty successful at the Blue Devils, and that back then you got victory gigs. If you won the show, you would come back out on the field and perform a standstill, and I could not stop smiling anytime we would take the field again and perform our show. I just couldn't stop smiling. I was looking at all my friends in the drum corps, and they were all stoic and everything. And I just couldn't stop. I couldn't. I was the kid like with the teeth. You saw, like I don't know. It's wild.
I'm like imagining because I feel like UNT is one of the only places where you can lean out your window and be like, I'm in the Blue Devils, and people are like,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
Because
get
if
it.
you did that, it like if you're at Baylor and you stuck your head out of a window in Pinland and yelled, I'm in the Blue Devils out of the window, there would be like a chaplain at your door.
Yeah. Someone throwing a Bible at you.
Yeah. No one would know what's going on.
So what's your favorite part about the marching arts?
Well, I mean, other than just the positive effects it has on kids, and I think the group project element and the delayed gratification of it. I think that just there's so many problem solving skills that marching band teaches kids these days, and life lessons that they'll keep with them forever. I think that aside from all of those obvious things, is that it's just the crowd. It's like when you work really hard to put on the best show that you can, and then you pour your heart out through your instrument, and the crowd responds to that with their applause, and how that makes you feel, and how it just I don't know. I was always fueled by that kind of like just seeking out that kind of that standing ovation when I was a performer, and then as a director also I wanted those kids to feel that same exhilaration as when they nailed a show, and then the crowd just erupted for them like they erupted for the groups that I was fortunate enough to be in. I don't know, there's something about that connection from performer to audience that cannot be overstated.
So is there anyone that you would like to shout out for helping you in your journey other than the people you've already shouted out?
Sure. There's been plenty along the way. I mean, Stacy Dunn, legendary band director from Lopez and then Southwest High School. When I became a head band director at Western Hills, he was right across town at Southwest High School, and he would come over. I would ask him to come over and listen to my bands, and he was always super complimentary, and he was just so passionate about music, and he's just such an inspiring, larger than life figure, and just and he still is to this day. He's just I can call him up and just chat with him, and he just eats, sleeps, breathes music, and that dude can sing. Like he's a like when he works with a band, like he'll sing a phrase, and it's just like the most artistic thing. And then, I don't know, it's like when he talks about music and what's possible, like it's just it's so, I don't know, it just resonates so deeply with me. And he's just always like from day one, like he told me I was a, what were his words, that I'm a bulldog. He says you're a bulldog. And that was a compliment, the highest compliment that he could give, is somebody who could make things happen in a band rehearsal and make a band sound a certain way, just relentless. And he recognized that early and always encouraged me. Um, of course, Art Valdez, one of the best bosses, if not the best boss ever. Frank Troika, he was one of my mentors and still is to this day. That dude, like a lot of times what happens is I'll go to clinics at TMEA and TBA, and a lot of the stuff is just kind of like you hear it again, like you've heard it before, and then you hear it again, maybe in a different way or from a different presenter, and that's good. But anytime Frank Troika speaks, it's new information. I've I have never heard that before, and it's brilliant. Um, and he's just so, I don't know, he's just so cosmopolitan and international with all of the knowledge that he gets from all over the world. Like he travels everywhere, and he brings that information back home. He's so willing to share it too, um, and just so welcoming to somebody of that stature. Could have every reason to, you know look down his nose or distance himself from, you know, whoever, like but no, he's so generous and so kind with his time and his knowledge. And I've always been grateful for that. And then let's see, Phil Alvarado, uh, another legendary band director who spent a lot of time at Rowlett High School. He's amazing, and I caught up with him. He's working with the programs at Garland ISD right now, just doing amazing stuff with those bands and band directors. And then I guess I could go on, but Bill Cintera, he was at where was he at, Newman Smith, and then um, Frisco Centennial, and he's always been super kind and encouraging and just a wealth of knowledge, for me. And I've called him and just talked his ear off. He's given me some sound advice over the years about band and how to do it and what not to do as well. But I mean, the list is long, and I guess that would be my advice to any other young band director out there. Just get a mentor, get somebody to you know to kind of guide you through this minefield that it feels like sometimes as a band director. Like, talk to somebody who's walked the path and you know lived to tell about it. You can avoid a whole lot of mistakes that way.
What are some things that you've done to establish the culture that you want in your band hall, other than failing half of them?
Right. Well, I think the kids are going to reflect more who you are than what you say. Like I've always wanted three things from my band kids. I want them to work hard, I want them to be kind, and I want them to have fun. And in order for them to really do that, they need to see that. They need to see me and the director team embodying that message daily, constantly. They always see us working, to improve ourselves or to improve the band in some way. We're working hard, not kicking back and just taking it easy. Being kind to one another. Like I said, this world desperately needs it. We need kindness in this world so desperately, and we need to be that to our students so that they'll be that to each other. Um, and then if we're going to spend all this time together, let's have some fun. Like it would be so boring and so monotonous if it was just work, work, work all the time, and we didn't get a chance to kind of cut loose and joke around, or do some fun types of stuff. Like you got to have all of it, and the best way that kids learn, I find, is by being that yourself. Got to show him the example.
Is there a favorite memory you have as a band director or student?
Mm, well, I would say that, you know, performing on the stage at Lila Cockrell as a high school student with the honor full orchestra in 1992, my junior year, we were like we joined forces with the orchestra on campus, and they had recorded the year before. I was not in that ensemble, by the way, but I was in the ensemble that got to perform at TMEA, and that was really really cool to get to do that. I had no idea what this was. I just thought that, we're just going to take a little trip to San Antonio and perform. I thought it was just some festival or something. We used to go to the Buccaneer Days down in Corpus. Um, you know, it's
Jose's told me about
No,
that parade.
no,
no,
never again.
it was not necessarily a parade, at least not us. Like we did there was a concert contest that was kind of like, I don't know, a mini honor band sort of thing. It was at uh, I forget where, some college. Is there a college in Corpus Christi?
Yes, there's Texas A&M, Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I think it might have been, um, maybe somewhere else. There's some auditorium. It's like, I don't know, but it was a
Was
big
that
deal.
Delmar?
Del Mar. That's the one
Yeah,
right there.
I've
So
played a lot of concerts in that auditorium.
okay, cool. But yeah, we would normally do that, and I think we did still, because that was later in the year. But yeah, we went down in February to perform in San Antonio, and it just so happened that, that was the honor full orchestra of Texas that I was in. That I didn't realize it at the time.
I'm just gonna go down.
I remember the performance. The performance was great. We played Carmen, some Bizet that was awesome, and then we played some Firebird. The finale of Firebird. It was just such a cool performance, and everybody was on that day. It was like there was no cracked notes that I heard, at least, and the musical phrases just sounded so good. And from my perspective, my high school kid perspective, that was a really cool experience. I'd say that the finals run in '94 Blue Devils was another one of those just surreal performances that, you know, um, I don't know, everything locked in ways that they had not in rehearsal. Like every moment of that, I could not see or hear any error. There were some, I'm sure, but they were undetectable to me at that time. But then I think the most powerful one, I think, was, as a dad, seeing my son performing, um, like in high school band on mellophone, like his old man. Um, I saw that for the first time. Um, I lost it. Like that was one of those never forget it kind of moments that, my son following in my footsteps, at least in that way, and just doing so well, having worked so hard, and then being a part of something so great at Vista Ridge.
I'd look forward to those moments, like the dad moments. I really really look forward to those, just because like there's a certain amount of letting go you have to go do through that,
Yeah.
and just like, especially being a band director, and hopefully my kids get like the best experience they can out of band, and just allowing them and seeing that joy through them is
Mhm.
going to be just like, I don't know. I just think that's a little bit of a different experience.
Hmm. Yep. Now get ready. It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions, man. Like all the way up to that point, and then when you see your kids performing out on that field, just the amount of pride that you're going to have for them. You'll always be proud of them, but there's just something about it, that hits, as the kids say, different. Um, it's special, and words can't describe it.
I'm a big old softy as it is. Like, I'm a
Yeah, you
big
are.
old softy.
I am
Don't
too, but
don't you dare put on a soldier coming home video anywhere around me. I will cry.
Hmm.
Like, I just can't I just can't do it.
you cry easily at movies.
Yes, I
Which,
do.
again, So do I.
So like we had pre-K
Pre-K
awards,
awards.
Mhm.
for the kids, and like Eleanor got the Firefly Award, and
Yeah.
it,
Okay.
it, it was and it's about
Well,
like
they do awards for every student based on an animal character trait.
Okay.
So she got the Firefly Award because she lights up the room with her energy.
Oh,
and
nice.
and I was like,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my goodness, and
Yeah.
I got started getting teary eyed about that. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You're gonna
oh,
be a
this is
mess. You're gonna
yeah.
be.
I'm like right now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
Yep.
you know,
She was so proud of it too. She came home and Jonah got the Monkey Award for bringing silliness to
which is
everything and
fitting.
everyone around him. But they both came home and they asked to hang him up on the refrigerator. So we had to take some of their like old stuff down, and then they had to get the magnets and like they placed it exactly where they wanted it to be. It was really cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the day Eleanor gets married, if she ever decides to get married, like
Mhm.
I know I'm gonna be like a
Among
mess.
the many other things between now and then, because you're talking about marriage and like you cried yesterday when she got an award
Yeah. Oh,
for pre-K.
like graduation is gonna
So
be horrible.
Mhm.
Kindergarten graduation is gonna be rough for me.
well, you got about 364 days to go. So start preparing now.
Yeah. So, Sean, if it wasn't band, what would it be?
I'm a huge frisbee nerd. Um, oh, and some people don't know this. I was once a professional bowler.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah, 2007. When we were out in Palestine, there wasn't a whole lot to do, and there was a lot of frustration that goes along with trying to build a band program that isn't doing very well at the time. And so I had a lot of energy that I needed to. I had a lot of steam to blow off. Let's just say.
gonna
I know,
throw
right?
something.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, like a little kid, I would go bowling on Saturday mornings. My grandma was my coach, my dad's mom, nicest human being I've ever met in my entire life. So that was just what I did on Saturday mornings, and yeah, just kept getting better and getting better and getting better, and and yeah, she was there when I bowled my first 200 game. I was like 12 years old, and yeah, so after a while I kind of went away from it. Like in high school and then college, I didn't really do any competitive, so I would go and bowl for fun, like the cosmic bowling. I don't know if you've ever done cosmic bowling, where it's like night and they turn off the lights and
Yes,
like
I have
all the
done some bowling.
I've
okay,
never done
well,
that.
cosmic bowling is different. It's like they turn the lights off and then there's like black lights on the
My sister used to do that.
I've
yeah.
done it. It's fun.
Okay. So yeah, the loud rock and roll music playing and it's dark and disco and everything like that. I would go and just do that, like play like 20 games back to back with my brothers and do stupid stuff like that, but nothing really competitive. But then when I became an adult, then um, I was especially out in Palestine. There's nothing else to do, so they had a bowling alley. So I went up there, and it was smoky, so smoky. You walk in, and it's like a cloud of smoke just billows out the doors, and your clothes just smell like it when you come home. And yeah, it was the land that time forgot back there. But yeah, I would go up there every like I would go up there. I think it started on Tuesday night leagues, and then I would go up there on for Wednesday and then Thursday. Like if I found myself up there a lot, just bowling and just imagining all the people that had made me mad that day, just their faces on the bowling pins. And yeah, so I got my average up to like 200, and that's what you need to do to be considered a pro. So I put in my application for professional status. It was accepted, and I got my pro bowlers card, and I was allowed admission into the regional tournaments that they would have. And I had my shirt and my little Denny's patch on the shoulder, and I had my name on the back of my shirt, and carried all my equipment with me to wherever the tournament happened to be. And yeah, that was a fun time. That was before kids, though. Mason came along in 2008, and this was 2007. So that was a fun fun time. I didn't ever really win anything. Those dudes are really good, but I was there with them. I got to see people up close that I'd only seen on TV, and just that was kind of cool to be in and amongst that level of I don't know, competitor, I suppose. So if it wasn't band, I would probably do something either frisbee related or bowling related. It's just those are passions of mine.
You are giving us so many good graphic, like for your
Were
pod,
you thinking like the Big
the Big
Lebowski or?
Lebowski or
Ah,
Kingpin.
okay.
Yeah, that's a good
Right.
idea.
Uh, nice.
Bill
I'm.
No,
Murray.
I think
That's a good idea.
I've recently gotten into pickleball within within the last month or so, and um, and I've been playing with a former drum corps buddy. Well, he's still a buddy, but um, yeah, Chris Kincaid, and he's played college tennis, and he's like super good, and like he crushes me every time. But we've got this weekly standing like pickleball like time, like during lunch. Like he lives close by, and I'll drive or ride my bike or whatever over to a court by his house, and we'll play pickleball. And normally it's played in like in doubles form, but we'll play it in singles, and it's way more like physically demanding in that fashion. But yeah, shout out to Chris Kincaid, my pickleball buddy. I'll see you next Wednesday.
So what are you doing? So is what do you do now to unwind from like band?
Uh, well, like the afternoon naps, like I said, that's pretty good. I mean, that's great. But no, I do like we have lots of great disc golf courses in Austin, and I'll just go throw, a round or two, and yeah, just a nice little walk in nature, and then I love watching the frisbees fly, and it's a good challenge too. So my boy Hayden is starting to get into ultimate frisbee, which is a little different. It's like frisbee football for the uninitiated, and so he's wanting me to help him with some of the throws that you need for that sport. He's got little pickup games of ultimate at school that he's had with his friends, and you know, like I've been able to kind of help him out with that a little bit, and it's just fun playing catch. It's like instead of like baseballs and gloves, it's just frisbees. We're just tossing it back and forth to each other, and that's kind of a cool little little thing. I've kind of gotten back into, and my wife hates this. I know she won't say anything about it, but I know she hates it. Back in college, I would play this game called Warcraft 2, and yeah, my dorm buddies and I we would play over the dial-up internet, the modem. You remember that sound that it used to
Oh
make?
yes,
Yeah, we would
yes.
the dorm room landlines, right? We would hook our computers up and play like across the wall from each other, and I would always get just destroyed. They were always better than me at that, and so I've rediscovered it. So some of my quiet just time to myself, I just pull Warcraft 2 up again and just relive the good old days. And I know I'm a big old nerd for that, um, but yeah, frisbees, Warcraft, and whatever Kim has on the honeydew list. I've got, I do a lot more dishes and trash than maybe I used to when I was a band director, and morning walks. I get to take morning walks now. Used to, I'd have band rehearsal before school, and now I just get to go. We have so many good trails in Austin, and I'll walk like 7 miles or 8 miles, you know, in a morning, and it's so cool to be able to do that.
So you mentioned this earlier about Sassy. What is the importance of Sassy, and how have you been able to be a facilitator to that?
Student leadership is critical to any band program, and um, I'm pretty lucky to have been invited to be on the team. For a long time, we had Sassy at the various programs that I taught. I'd have Jeremy or any of the leadership team come out and run leadership sessions with my students. So I saw firsthand the benefit of that kind of training, and yeah, so moving to Austin to work at Liberty Hill and then Vista Ridge, Jeremy, of course, is Austin based as well. So I invited him out to be a clinician for my band programs, and Um, and he just asked me one day, he's like, "Hey man, what do you think about joining the sassy team?" I was like, "I think, uh, are you sure? Are you sure that you want me to do that?" He's like, "Yeah, you do great." So yeah, just been doing that now for I think 3 years now. It all kind of runs together, but just going and helping band programs the way that they have helped me in my band programs is kind of a cool full circle, way to give back, I'd say. And it's fun. It's fun to talk to the kids. Like I said, I'm kind of in the middle of a Waller, a leadership training session. Like I finished day one and I have day two tomorrow. And the kids, it's so good to stand in front of kids and teach, especially these concepts, and to see the light bulbs go off and just hear their feedback and just listen to their discussions and watch them participate in all the activities and stuff that we do. Just like it was like last summer when I got to work with y'all's kids and the Salado kids, and I think the Cross Plains was there too. It's like that was so fun to be in front of the kids and just help them on their leadership journey, and know that that work that we were doing was helping their programs be stronger and more, um, I don't know, more excellent, more professional, and have kids understand how to deal with conflict better and how to problem solve. I don't know. There's just something about it that I just love it. And I'm so thankful to Jeremy for believing in me and allowing me to join the team. I just love getting to be a part of this incredible collection of educators.
Well, that also plays into, I think, another love of yours of travel. So I don't know how many times I've like texted you or called you about something, and you're like, "Oh, I'm in New Orleans right now," or "I'm in New York right now." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. It's like I said, you just like, um, you worked so hard for so long as a band director, and then now I have freedom to go and do and be, wherever. It's such a blessing. Some of the places that I like to travel, Kim and I and the boys, we go to South Padre every single year, sometimes twice, and it happens in the summertime. And it's just a do not pass go, do not collect $200. It's like that's a destination on our summer vacation, um, I guess, schedule. Uh, Caribbean cruises are great. Went on one, my very first cruise. I went last year, and then we're going to go again with Kim. Me, Kim, and the boys are going to go on another one coming up in about June 1st, like a week and a little bit less than a week and a half. So we'll be out there doing that, and we love the uh, Disney. I mean, Disney's a great trip. Disney Universal, like we go there as often as we possibly can. Orlando is what we've done most, but we have done California as well. We've done a Colorado trip. Estes Park is amazing, especially in the summertime. If you want to get up there, it's great. We took a trip out to the West Coast. Went out to New York, Philadelphia, Washington D.C., Baltimore, all that. We went out there last summer. It was fantastic. So yeah, anytime, we don't even need an excuse. Let's
And
just
just go.
go. Let's just go. Yeah.
Is there one destination that you, if you had one trip to take, that's the trip you're going to take? What would it be?
Oh, like anywhere in the country or anywhere in
Sure,
the.
anywhere. If I said, Sean, you have one place to travel and one place only, and money is no object, any of
Uh,
that stuff, where would it be?
oh man, that's tough. The cruise experiences are getting really, really good. Um, we're going to be on, I think, Harmony of the Seas, or the Royal Caribbean cruise ship, and it's one of the larger ones, from what I understand. We've not been on a ship that big, but it's a floating city, like with all these different things that you can do, and all the food and the beverages and the just the stuff to do, and the places, the excursions that you get to hop off the boat and go see. We're going to go see Mayan ruins. My whole life I've never been to Mexico. I've been close, but I've never been. And we're going to actually get to set foot on, um, like a foreign country, and it's just so cool to be able to do that. And I don't know, the cruise experiences are just so awesome, but I don't know, it's hard to compete with Disney. Disney is great. I hear they have Disney cruises, and that would
Oh,
probably
we
be the pinnacle.
yeah, we did that for our honeymoon, and I tell you what, Disney does not do anything incorrectly when it comes to like in-person entertainment.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So that may be one of the things. If I had to pin it down, I'd say like the combination of Disney and a cruise together in one. I've not done it yet, but everybody that has raves about it. So I would say that that would probably be it.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it's so good. No, now they have the Alaskan cruise, which is like a Star Wars based
Are they still
cruise.
doing that?
I think so.
Hmm. Disney also, this is, I didn't know this until recently. Disney has a Hawaiian resort.
I didn't know
Like they
that.
have a Disney Hawaii resort.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like, from, I haven't really like researched it, but I've seen people talk about it. It's secluded, so if you go, like you're not like traveling out really to islands unless you like want to drive. Um but it's the Disney experience in Hawaii on a resort. And I
Nice.
don't think it's very big, but
That that sounds wonderful.
yeah.
I would
Hmm.
do that in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. Is there anything you wish you could bring back?
Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl.
Ooh, yes.
I would bring back the Golden Girls.
Oh my gosh, but the original cast,
Yeah,
right?
the original cast.
I feel like somebody else said this. I would bring back Secrets. Has somebody else said that
I
before?
can't remember, but that's a good one.
Yeah, like let's bring back a little bit of, not sharing every single thing on social media or
Mm,
just publicly. Either one's fine.
right.
But just like, secrets is nice.
Yeah, it's
John,
funny. It's funny back in the day, like if you had a diary or a journal or something like that, you would be mad if somebody found it and read it. But
Hmm.
now, like everybody posts everything on social media, and they're mad if you don't read it.
Yeah. Let's just bring back keeping things to ourselves.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. Do you have a guilty pleasure TV show?
Uh, you know those like, on YouTube, the fail videos, like
Oh yeah,
like those are. I would say like that's a guilty pleasure, and sometimes we'll cast YouTube up on our TV, and um, yeah, I'll watch people like skateboarding just totally eat it, or just whatever fail videos. Just like there's a whole bunch of them like back to back to back to back, and just I don't know. Sometimes I can't stop. Like if I start watching those, then I have to pry myself away from it. Um, TV shows per se, I don't know that I'm guilty about it, but I think Ted Lasso is probably one of the best shows ever made, ever, um, in the history of ever.
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, Kim and I have watched that multiple times from start to finish, like again and again. There's so many layers to it too. It's the Wizard of Oz, right?
Huh?
Yeah. Where's Ted from?
Huh?
Who is Ted's um, like loyal companion?
You're kind of shattering some glass for me right now.
Right? Yeah. And of course, Jamie Tart. He's has no brains. And then of course Roy has no heart. So yeah, your Ted Lasso is the Wizard of Oz.
Huh?
Yep.
It's funny.
Huh?
And then where does he go at the very end? Back home to Kansas. Yep. Check the color of his tennis shoes. Red. Yep.
That's like,
When does the Wicked version come
oh,
out?
jeez. The second one's gonna be so
The
good.
origin story again?
All
I'm
right.
excited. I hear there's a season 4 coming out.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've seen.
Ooh. All right, Sean. I got some questions for you, and I need you to answer these as quickly as you possibly can do them.
Here we
They're
go.
never quick.
Sometimes they are. Okay, I got some different ones.
Ooh.
Okay, if you could invent a new holiday, what would it be?
A new holiday. Oh, Tired Band Directors Day.
Oh, how would you celebrate it?
Nap.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, let's see.
That's a
There's
good
so many good
question.
choices. There's so many good choices. I think the obvious choice would be "Don't Stop Believin'," but then there's also Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, like you could get some serious crowd participation in that. Sweet Caroline, though, I mean, like come on, like, how do you pick between that? Like, it's impossible.
It's all about the audience
Yeah.
connection.
Well, I know which one I would do.
What?
Yeah.
Hey Jude.
Oh, that's
Really?
a good one.
Mine
Yeah.
would be different than any of those.
Or what would it be?
Shoot by Salt and Pepper.
Okay.
My goodness. Okay.
Love it.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen someone eat?
Weirdest thing I've ever seen someone eat. Um, Man, you are mixing it up today, aren't you?
Yeah, I
Weirdest
did that because I know you've listened to the pod.
He's done his research.
thing. uh, Weirdest thing is like, I think I've seen like, and I don't know, maybe I'm blocking this out of my mind, but I think I've seen people eat bugs, or the elementary school people eating glue. Glue.
Yes.
What?
If you could be any animal for a day, what would you be and what would you do?
Well, a jetpack turtle, of course. I'd fly around.
Okay, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I would. Okay, I would love to, because when we're traveling around, there's all these people in New York City, right? I would love to know their story, because I think that, like, there are people amongst us that are the best in their field, but we don't know what that is. I would love to know what people do. Just looking at them, I'd love to like have something like shine above their head, like the best chef in the world, or the best table tennis player in the world, or you know what I mean? Is like I would love to know like about what they're great at, or something about them just at a glance. I would love to just have that information just right there.
Variations on The Sims. I get it.
Oh, is that a thing? I don't even know.
I don't
Well,
know.
there's like I've never played The Sims, but don't they have like an info bubble that pops
Yes.
up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
if you could live in any fictional world, which world would it be?
Any fictional world? Hmm. Oh, fictional world. I'm a big Star Wars nut. I would I would love to wield a lightsaber and use the Force.
You
I
know,
would love.
prior Order
The
66.
Star Wars world scares me because it seems very economically unstable, and I just can't handle that.
If you could have any pet, real or imaginary, what would it be?
I like the ones that we've got right now. We have two Siberian Huskies, Daphnis and Chloe, and we have two cats, Marshmallow and Coco, and they're awesome.
Love it.
That's a good one. Daphnis and Chloe is good too, though.
If you could relive one day of your life, what day would it be?
Oh, wedding day was pretty great. Like just start to finish, it was awesome. It was just an awesome ceremony, and then the reception was just off the chain. It was amazing. So wedding day or the birth of my kids, either one of those.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
It's changed over the years, but can't go wrong with a good old fashioned strawberry. Like Bluebell strawberry is the goat.
Standard.
Really? I'm just like, I've never been into
That was my
strawberry
favorite
cream.
ice cream as a child, for
Yeah, me
sure.
too. Me too. Like I said, it's like it's changed from like it was butter pecan for a little while, and then mint
Yes.
chocolate chip. I would get Brahms mint chocolate chip shakes, and those little crinkle fries that they've got. Like, oh man, that's my weakness. But yeah, as far as the through line, like you, strawberry has just always been there for me. So
Yeah, strawberry is a good one.
Toilet paper, over or under?
over.
Favorite stand tune?
Land of a Thousand Dances.
Worst stand tune?
Probably Hey Baby.
I'm with Sean on this one.
Oh,
I've been waiting
no.
to say it. I'm with Sean on that.
Oh, no. Oh, my
That middle
goodness.
section is just
Oh, it's
rough.
tricky. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's very tricky. Are you allowed to tuck in your shirt without a belt?
Mm, no.
If someone played you in a movie, who would it be?
Definitely Ryan Reynolds.
Ooh. Sousa, King, or Fillmore?
None of the above. Sorry.
Oh.
He taught in East Texas too.
Oh.
No,
So
I
are you not a March guy?
Oh no, no. I do the concert, like the like the big grandiose, like the masterwork marches, like the Rakoczy March, the Radetzky is like the March to the Scaffold. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like those.
Florentina or something.
Yeah, yeah, those kinds of epic marches. I'm not into the upbeats. No. I sorry. Oh, and then there's the Commando March though is pretty cool. I mean, I
I
don't
like
think
Commando March.
I don't think that falls under the categories that you mentioned though. I just never have really dug the others. Sorry.
Midway March is a good one
I
too.
like
That
Midway
one's a
March.
little bit like it's not like a military march; it's a movie thing, but
Yeah.
it's still good.
It's still good.
The Imperial March.
Imperial.
right.
Yes, there you go. That's what
Can't
I'm
go wrong with
talking
Imperial
about.
March.
That's what I'm talking about. Good. Yes, more of
Okay,
that.
Sean. The question everybody wants to know. Okay.
I don't know if everyone wants to know
No,
this.
everyone wants to know.
It's just us.
No, everyone wants to know this.
Okay.
And it's not the question you think of. Why ketchup?
Oh, that was not the question I thought.
I think it's because I was deprived as a child. I think that's what it was. My parents never bought bottles of ketchup.
Oh
They had
goodness.
a I know. They had a Ziploc baggie in the door of the fridge with ketchup packets. Yeah. So what I would do um would be like I would be rationed. I would be rationed to two ketchup packets per per meal that required ketchup, like burgers or fries or whatever, hot dog. It didn't matter. It's like just two is all I got. So now I'm a grown man. I get as much ketchup as I want, and I do. Like if I have a burger that I'm eating, I'll hold it with my left hand and I'll have the bottle of ketchup in my right hand. The burger, mind you, already has ketchup on it and probably extra ketchup. I will, with every bite, add more ketchup to the burger and until the burger is gone.
That's how I eat Whataburger.
Mm-hmm.
I just like
You've seen me do that.
Yes, I've just heard like for those who don't know about Sean Murphy's addiction, and it is an addiction to ketchup. It is so severe that he has a vanity plate on his car that says ketchup.
It does. Yep. And my car is spicy ketchup colored as well.
It's also though kind of a pun in a car. You know,
Yeah, I know ketchup. Yeah, yeah, that works two
It always
ways.
reminds me of Pulp Fiction, but
Yep. Right. The worst joke ever.
It's so good. Well, I mean, no, the worst joke for me personally is what does the Mexican fireman call his two sons?
Jose and Jose B.
Okay.
But that's the joke that Uma Thurman tells in Pulp Fiction, the ketchup.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
The
tomato.
tomato. Yeah. Stomps. Yeah. Ketchup.
Eleanor's favorite food, I think,
Is ketchup.
We have to buy large bottles of ketchup.
Can't go wrong with ketchup. It has all of it. You know, it's got all the different. It hits your palate in all the different spots. It's so good.
She eats pancakes with ketchup.
Really. That's
Yeah.
That's-
She's hardcore.
yeah. I've
Yeah.
not advanced to that level yet.
Yeah.
Like it's I'm like
She refuses maple syrup altogether and just
Wow.
straight for the ketchup.
Yep.
That's bold.
And I've tried to explain it to her, like, this is, traditionally a meal you eat with syrup. Not in those words. But she's like, I just want ketchup. Thanks.
Well,
Like
tell her I approve of her love of ketchup. You
I'll
know,
tell her that.
yeah. Because if you try to ration her, it will only get worse. Trust me. Like,
Believe that.
so do you have a favorite ketchup?
favorite ketchup? Well, obviously Whataburger spicy ketchup.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Come on. Yeah, I think Heinz has got their ketchup game going pretty strong right now too. So it's just regular fancy ketchup, then you can't go wrong with Heinz. But if Whataburger spicy ketchup is available, then that's the go-to.
Don't they have like Tapatio ketchup now?
I have not experienced that yet. Maybe I should.
I think they might have it. I think Whataburger actually does it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I'm not 100. Don't count me
Okay.
as
All right.
the fact on that, but I'm pretty sure they do.
Interesting. I have to check it out.
So, okay, where should we go to eat in the DFW area as far as food? Where's the place to be?
In the DFW area, I'm gonna direct you to my hometown of Denton, Texas, where there is a place called New York Sub, and it is incredible as far as like a deli sandwich. It's so good. There are two locations in Denton. There's one called New York Sub, and there's one called New York Subway. And this is they're owned by two different people. I think they used to be owned by the same, but then there was a split, and they had to change. Somebody had to change their name. But they're both amazing. And yeah, so New York Sub or New York Subway in Denton, Texas, they're great. My favorite pizza joint while I was living in Denton was the Flying Tomato, and I think they shortened their name to the Tomato. And then after I left Denton, I think the place burned down. But they're back now in a food truck, is what it is, and they're the same recipe and everything. So find the Tomato food truck and thank me later. There's Denton County Independent Hamburger that is really really good as well. And again, I think they've changed their name because they're about to branch out. They're franchising and they're going out in all different directions. But they're still really really good. So yeah, those are my food recommendations, and they're all focused in my hometown of Denton, Texas.
How about the greater Austin area?
There's so many good barbecue spots in Austin, and you can't go wrong with any of them. I think the closest one to where I live in Cedar Park is Styles Switch, so that's a good one to try. There's an ice cream shop that's right across the street from Vista Ridge High School called Scoop and Score, which is amazing.
Yeah,
Like
you're the second person to bring that one up.
Kim
it's
talked about that.
it's really good, and yeah, it's the real deal. They have a special brand of ice cream that you think you can only get there. They have some special deal worked out, but it's legit. And we have this family tradition that after every performance, like a band performance or whatever, that we'll go have a little ice cream celebration afterwards. And if that place is open, then we always go there.
You know, we're doing BOA Austin again this year, and we're going to do the Vista Ridge marching contest this year. And I'm going to have to try and arrange to get to Scoop and Score
Dude, it's
because
right there,
now,
right across
yeah,
the street. So yeah,
like
man.
I'm going to have to find a way to get there. Just
Yeah,
like, hey kids, I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, like away from the kids.
yeah. Dude, I'll walk there with you. Like, yeah, it's your bus is like you could throw a frisbee and hit the place. It's so close.
I'm excited. I've made a mental note about it. Okay, so here's the other question: Is there a Dairy Queen near where you live?
Near where I live in Cedar Park, yeah, it's on Whitestone. Yeah, it's like a mile and a half away from where I live. Yeah,
Do you have a Dairy Queen order?
yeah. The dip cones are hard to beat, but then there's the blizzard, the Hawaiian blizzard with extra coconut is a go-to.
Ooh, ooh! I haven't had the Hawaiian. I've had it like maybe once, but it was like a long time ago.
I haven't either.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Now I can't go for the bigger sizes anymore. I have to stick with a mini version, but man, it's still so good.
Well, you know, your wife is into the healthy eating, so
Mhm.
therefore, she does she shame you when you do things like that?
No, we have something cool. So thank you for bringing that up. My wife is the owner of Simply Plant Based Kitchen, and we don't have any meat, dairy, or oil in our house. Like she prepares meals that are, well, whole food, plant based, and so yeah, that's what we eat 90% of the time is the recipes that she makes, and they're fantastic. They taste amazing. Um, but then once every month, we have this thing in our house called Food Miss. And it comes around the 25th of every single month. And because none of us in the family grew up eating this way. So on the 25th of every single month or close to it, then each member of my family, we get a choice to eat wherever we want. And everybody in the family gets to eat there. So it's a big deal. So like sometimes we'll pick I don't know. Mason likes to pick some fast food joint or whatever. Like sometimes we'll go to like a Brazilian steakhouse, or sometimes it'll be like who knows what. It's whatever we're feeling. But it's only one time every single month. It's called Foodmas, and yeah, we just go hog wild, and yeah, that creates balance in the force, if you want to call it that.
Can I ask you what took her down that direction?
Well, her dad, my father-in-law, was experiencing some pretty rough health issues there toward, well, the end of his life, and he was, you know, diagnosed with cancer. He had cancer and high blood pressure, and then there was a dementia as well. So he had a lot of issues, and Kim was devastated. Well, we were all devastated when he passed in 2018. And Kim was like, she wanted to learn as much as she possibly could about, how, if at all possible, there was a way to, I don't know, prevent this or lessen the risk of this happening to other people. So she did a whole bunch of deep dives into scientific research, and came up with, like, people's diets and their lifestyles are pretty much the determining factor of these types of, outcomes, because there are places in the world that don't have cancer, or at the level that America has, don't have like high blood pressure, and don't have, like, dementia, and that type of thing. It's really a those are diseases of excess. Wealthier nations tend to have that, and the less wealthy ones don't. What happens is, in the less wealthy countries, they have less access to, like, meat products, and maybe dairy products and that type of thing. So they're eating more plants in their diets, which is actually the way that our bodies are meant to work. So anyway, she built her business on this scientific research, and that 90%, like, if you eat 90% whole food plant based, and you don't pass that 10% mark, then your risk for all these diseases pretty much goes down to close to zero. So, that's what we do. That's what she does, helping people, and that's what we do as our family. And yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, I was very curious about that because when you mentioned that, I was like, huh. So if you're interested in that, what is the website?
Simplyplantbasedkitchen.com, and you can find out all you want and more from my better half. She's amazing.
Okay. And our final plug of the night is that Sean is also a spokesperson for FanPledge. Can you just do your shout out real quick for FanPledge?
Sure, sure. Yeah, FanPledge is the very best, hands down, donation-based platform fundraiser out there. It's super fun. There's no product to sell or deliver. It's incredibly fast and easy, and you are guaranteed to make more money than your current donation-based fundraiser, or it's free. So, FanPledge, get on board. Like, your fan pledge was really successful, I would say. Like, when I ran the fan pledge at Gatesville, like, man, those kids were really, really in it, and really proud of how that event went, and super excited for the future.
Well, and like I would tell you, and I'm saying this because we've done activities before with our own version of a donation system. But we did this in one day, and actually one class period. We didn't even dedicate a whole entire day to it. We did one class period for the high school, and then two of our junior high groups. So really three periods, and I think our number is up to like almost 20. It's over 23,000 right now as far as donations.
Yep, it's
So
super powerful. Yep,
yeah, and it took literally three periods.
yep. So, I mean, especially nowadays with budgets, dwindling from, the decisions that our lawmakers are making, you gotta find ways, creative ways, to get more money so you can buy the things and do the things that your programs are going to need. So, feel free to reach out. The dates on the calendar are filling in, but give me a call at 903-948-7348. And then let's get you a date. Let's get you signed up. Let's get you some money for your band program.
I mean, we're reaping the benefits of it right now. So like, I highly encourage it if just do the thing. And we tacked on some other things like pie a director in the face, and that was like a big catalyst.
Yeah.
So like, we're dreading, crunching the numbers on that.
Hey, speak for yourself. I don't think I'm a prime target like some other folks.
I think Mr. Myers is a real prime
Mr.
target.
Myers has got some pies coming
Yep,
too.
yep.
Better pull his hair back for that one.
So I think, Shawn, I think that's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is fun chatting with you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Shawn.
Well, all right.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to Band Yap. We'll see you next time. Bye.
We out.
Don't forget, FanPledge is changing the game for band fundraising. Shawn Murphy can help you ditch the product sales and still bring in record-breaking support for your program. And with the 10% guarantee, there's zero risk. Give Shawn a call at 903-948-7348 to get started. One more time, 903-948-7348. FanPledge, fundraising that actually works.